That's on me.
Let me stop the podcast. All right. Sound check. Turn it down a smidge. It's a little bit louder than normal, I think.
I don't
All
know
right.
how,
Test.
but we're way loud.
That's crazy. Because I assume you're putting it the same spot you always do?
I'm below the same spot I normally am.
What the freak? All right. Well, welcome into the live stream. We're about to start the podcast. I can turn it down on my end a little bit.
I mean, I can just fiddle with it.
That
here.
looks
I turned it.
a little bit more because normally we top out at like right at the start of the yellow.
How is that?
That was good. Yeah, because we're getting in the yellow a little bit. JP, you want to test your mic real quick?
Sure, man.
All right, perfect. And let's start it. Jack, you want to start?
Sure. What is up, team? Hopefully y'all are getting the audio this time, but welcome back to the Technical Foul Podcast. As always, you're joined by the three of us. I'm Jack Anderson. To my right is JP Pusilowski. Repping Aaron Rodgers heavy today, both behind him and in the jersey he's wearing. And then to my left is Sanders Oakley.
My bad.
Happens. It happens. How are we doing today, boys?
Great. Ready for some Thursday night football. Ready for a long show. Tuesday night on the show, as we usually do, we were discussing what games to do, and there are too many good ones, and we decided we're just going to do a big show. What's up, Hilton? Welcome in. So big show, a lot of college football, the same number of NFL games as always, but a lot of college football will be discussed today. I think we're doing 8 games, the seven games, and then the game of the week.
It's too big of a week. This is when we really finally start to see who the legit contenders are. We're getting to the point where everyone's played a couple bigger games. Or almost everyone. There's no like squeaking through, past this week. We're finally getting a first big test for BYU. Ole Miss really gets their first big challenge of the year, going to Athens, stuff like that. And so just big games all around, and that's why we're doing 9.
8.
8.
I think the 7
Cool.
games and then the fan game.
I don't know if
of
it was
the week.
8 and then fan game or
I think it's 7.
It's 8th and fan game.
Oh, is it?
so 9.
Oh, because our game.
Yeah.
Our game. I forgot
Mhm.
about our game.
Yeah, and I'm sure y'all are ready for state football to be back
Very
after
ready.
a bye week, and a big challenge for y'all in terms of this is one of y'all's most winnable games left. So you
Yeah.
want to make the most of the opportunity. But before we get into those games and the couple NFL games we're going to do, we're going to take a look at the fan top 25
Yeah, the
that we
People's
have every
Poll.
week. The People's Poll. Thank you.
I'm currently plugging it in to get like my
Well then, JP,
Conference
how's your
breakdown.
week?
Yeah,
How's
talk
your
about
week
that.
been?
I'm repping Aaron Rodgers, but I'm here to tell you that the Cincinnati Bengals will win tonight.
Even with no Trey Hendrickson?
Even without Trey
Okay.
Hendrickson.
Shamar Stewart legacy game?
No, I don't
Okay.
think it has anything to do with that. I think when I talked about it in my pyramid on Tuesday, Steelers formula to win games pretty simple: hold teams under 20 and score above 20. In the games that they have done that, they've been successful and won. The only game they didn't do that, they lost to Seattle.
Sure.
Kind of an outlier. They did defeat the Jets, not going to that formula, but they scored 34 points in that game. But as we've also discussed much of this week, Thursday Night Football isn't real football. And
is true.
because of that, I think Cincinnati and Joe Flacco make enough plays and win tonight. So that's a shame considering I'm wearing Aaron Rodgers and have Aaron Rodgers behind me. But that's just how I see it.
Sure. Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm ready to
Cool.
get into it. Don't have all the exact same notes I always have, but also we can just work off of it and work through it.
Let's do it.
This is the People's Poll. This is something that we vote in every week. We usually have 9 to 12. Occasionally we get up to like 15 voters. It's really fun. It's basically with all the discourse around the AP poll and people saying that like, oh, how they're voting is wrong. This is how I would do it. This is a place to do it, and it's pretty fun. We put our ballots in here. We have friends and family put their ballots in there, trying to get viewers and listeners to do it with us. And then we'll talk about it on the show. I'll go ahead and throw up this week's People's Poll. Ohio State remains at number 1. Big surprise. Miami's still at 2. I really thought Indiana would jump them and get it to number 2.
We hold the line.
They get all the way up to 3. They move up from 8 to 3. Indiana sits there at 4. Alabama jumps. Texas Tech moves up to 5. Texas Tech is at 6. They move up a spot. A lot of these teams are moving up. Ole Miss drops 2, not exactly sure why, but a couple teams move up because of Oregon's loss. They drop all the way to 9, so still in the top 10. Georgia Tech cracks the top 10. Tennessee, Oklahoma, Missouri does not move after their loss to Alabama. LSU is there. They haven't moved since last week. Virginia and Vandy both move up a spot, as well as Notre Dame. These teams, I definitely know filling out my ballot, and I know talking to Jack, and I don't remember. I didn't talk to JP about this specifically, but like some of the teams in the lower teens that moved up to like 15, 16 did so because teams ahead of them lost. Vanderbilt was on a bye. I think UVA was also on a bye. Was UVA on a bye? I know Vandy was on a bye.
Yeah,
So
I
a couple
believe UVA
teams
was on a bye.
A couple teams moved up not because of their performances, but because teams in the teens like Iowa State lost. Notre Dame is at 17. USC jumps from unranked to 18th after beating Michigan. BYU moves up to 19. Texas jumps back into the polls at 20 after being unranked last week. Cincinnati jumps up to 21st. USF is at 22nd. Cincinnati is ranked ahead of Nebraska after having lost to them. So I think they might have jumped. They were at 24. Nebraska was at 25. So they were ranked ahead of them last week and take a bigger jump this week. Washington becomes ranked again. Nebraska's at 24. And Utah re-enters the rankings at 25. Couple things. Biggest movers, Indiana +5. Oregon dropped 6. Oklahoma dropped 7. So pretty standard stuff. USC jumping 7 spots from unranked to 18th. I always try and break down like how many it looks like we've got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 teams that appeared on every single ballot. And then 1, 2, 3 teams that appeared on all but one ballot. And I don't have the notes for exactly who those people were, but we can take a look at a couple individual ballots. And if y'all want to, you have any highlights or things that we want to take note of specifically this week, JP?
Well, I can tell you why the School of North dropped. Because they only beat a team they were favored by 32.5 by 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hurts.
And so I imagine they dropped in a ton of people's ballots. They dropped in my ballot. Yeah, I think that would explain the reasoning for them dropping as much as they did. I guess I don't necessarily understand that you're surprised with Miami still being ranked above Indiana. But also you've done that, so you're kind of in the minority, and that's your opinion. But people who have done that, I think, would just be factually incorrect at this moment.
It depends on how you view things, I guess. I will say, like, I'm not too surprised because both me and you have Ohio State 1 and Miami 2, and obviously, like, people do their own stuff, but we came in on, I guess, Sunday's show. Yeah, Sunday's show. And 2 of the 3 had Ohio State 1 and Miami 2, so I'm not I'm not surprised that they end up being 1 and 2. I mean, I just saw my brother-in-law has Miami at 1 and Ohio State at 2. So that even there helps Miami out even more.
Cromie, as always, has a very fascinating ballot. He still has Houston ranked. He's got Oregon all the way down at 21st. So those are... His is always a fun ballot. And that's the cool thing about the website we built, T25sports.com. You can go there and you can like see everyone else's ballots. It's all up there. Everyone else can see your ballot. So it's pretty fun. We enjoy it a lot. Anything else before we...
Yes, we have, among a quick scroll, one of the biggest things I had problems with Sanders' ballot on Sunday was that UNLV was ranked higher than that of Washington. We have 4 ballots that did that this weekend.
Wow.
Montwater was among one of them. And then we also have 2 others in CCD F5. And Cromie. No, not Cromie. Cromie's got Washington at 12. So 3. Never mind. 3.
He just has Washington way up there,
Yes,
so
he
you
does.
missed him. Which I guess shout out for that.
What are we doing here, boys? Even in like a resume description, UNLV does not have a better resume than Washington.
Yeah.
So I don't know what we're doing here, to be
Okay.
honest.
It's going to become irrelevant after UNLV loses this weekend to Boise State.
Yeah.
So
Thankfully, somehow UNLV didn't make our full 25. So.
Yeah. I try and break down the conferences. We got 1 American, 3 ACC teams, 4 Big 12, 6 Big 10, 10 SEC, and 1 independent. I don't have last week's conference breakdown pulled up, so I can't do the side-by-side comparison. But that's your conference breakdown for the week. What's up, Sven? Back for state football. Glad to have you. You ready to move on to state football?
yeah, let's do it. I mentioned earlier on the show this is a huge opportunity for Mississippi State. One of their most winnable games left aside from have y'all already played all of y'all's?
Non-conference?
You have,
Yes.
yeah. So this
We
is one
started
of
4-0.
y'all's biggest opportunities left to pick up a win. Despite it being on the road, Mississippi State goes to Florida this weekend for is that a 3:15 kickoff there?
Yeah.
3:15 kickoff. Florida is favored by 9.5, which seems a little steep to me, but I guess being on the road, it makes sense. But yeah, huge opportunity for Mississippi State. You're coming off the bye week. Florida, we're going to see how they respond to, they pick up a big win at home against Texas, but they can't really keep that momentum going, and you lose by 3 scores in Kyle Field to Texas A&M last weekend. There's a lot of rumors on, is Billy Napier going to get fired this weekend? There's just a ton of stuff going on for Florida, so it's going to be interesting to see how they come out this weekend. But what are y'all's key points for this game, thoughts for this game? What do y'all want to see from State this weekend, stuff like that?
Well, the spread is 9.5, largely due to talent profile.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That is kind of the explanation there. Like Penn State came in at 19 on the JP poll on Tuesday night. But Penn State has one of the best talent profiles in the country, which is why they're there, even though they just lost to UCLA and Northwestern. So that's in large part the reason that Florida is favored by 9.5. Although that still does kind of surprise me. I would think that maybe we would be favored if it was here in Starkville by point,
Yeah.
give or take. I understand maybe the neutral field favorability, but I would certainly pick State if we were here. And I won't spoil my pick later, but I don't think it would surprise people who I'm going to pick. For me, one key to this game, really, and we can talk about all the players involved and all of the key matchups, but for me, it's one thing, and the trend so far this season for each of the two teams. Excuse me. Florida has to protect DJ Lagway. In the last 4 games where they've played 4 straight top 10 opponents, at that time at least, LSU, Miami, Texas, and then A&M last week, in those last 4 games, DJ Lagway has been sacked 3 times against LSU, 4 times against Miami, 0 times against Texas, and 3 times against A&M. Obviously, they won the Texas game when he was not sacked. And then also on their defensive side, they got to the quarterback in the Texas game. 6 sacks in the Texas game, only 1 combined sack in the other 3 games. So for Florida, they've got to get to Shapen, and they have to protect Lagway. Do honestly one of those 2 things, and they have a really good chance. For us, we've got to protect Shapen as well. He's been sacked 10 times the last 2 weeks, or last 2 games, I should say, against A&M and Tennessee, 6 against Tennessee, 4 against A&M. When Blake Shapen is kept clean, meaning he's not under any pressure whatsoever, 73.9 completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, for an NFL passer rating of 123.9. He is, in large part, a top 10 quarterback in college football when he is not under any pressure. And his yards per attempt go up a ton because he doesn't check it down out of the pressure. He hits the deep shots down the field to Brennan Thompson or Anthony Evans. And so for the Bulldogs, I agree with Sven. We need Albert Reese in any capacity, even if he goes out there and blocks with a sling. And we just need to protect Shapen. And hope maybe that this is just like the week that Florida doesn't get any sacks, and that will kind of tell the story.
Sure.
For me, there's going to be no Fluff Bothwell, and then Isaac Smith or Albert Reese are questionable. But For me, that's the key to the game.
Yeah.
And y'all can talk about all the matchups you want, but for me, I think that decides it.
Yeah, and I love the way Tucker said it. He said if you show me what shape in his jersey looks like after the game, he could tell you who's going to win. I think that's a great way of putting it.
Sure.
Another matchup, so not matchup, in other injuries to watch, Albert Reese and Isaac Smith, very important for us. On the other side of the ball, Florida has Jordan Castell and Corman McLean. They're two of their starting defensive backs are both questionable coming into this week. That's a big deal because I love our chances with Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans a lot better against DB3 and 4 than DB1 and 2. I still love both of them as wide receivers, but them against the backups could be a lot more fun. Couple big plays, and that's gonna, as always, State is we need to be a hit first team. It's what gave us kind of hope in the A&M game was that first Fluff Bothwell drive. We ended up not getting a touchdown out of it, but we kind of looked like
Sure.
we could be in it. And we were in it for the first half of the A&M game. Same for Tennessee, same for Arizona State. Our approach on offense has to be come out and punch first and get up by a touchdown. Maybe you get a stop and get up by 2 because then that allows the offense to run the ball. It keeps the defense on the sideline because that's exactly what we saw against A&M is if the defense is out there every minute and a half. If the offense is going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out multiple times in a row, and the defense is out there having to play drive after drive, 70, 80 yards, they just get gashed and they can't hold up.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead.
No.
Sir.
I was just going to say, I actually think this is kind of the one game where y'all don't have to punch first. Y'all do need to punch early, and you need to keep it close. But Florida has not scored a fourth-quarter point since September 6th. And I get they've been playing, better defenses and deeper defenses in Mississippi State. But there's kind of a thing of they play their best football early, and they don't adjust well in games after the defense they're playing adjusts. I saw it in the A&M game. They scored 2 touchdowns on their first 3 drives, and it's like, wow, this offense looks amazing. And then they just keep trying to run screens and check downs, and there's nothing creative, and it gets really easy to figure out. And, yeah, they just can't adapt. So as long as you can keep it close and at least, sustain some drives, who cares if Florida punches first because that's probably when they're most likely to score. Y'all can pretty easily win the second half of this game, and that is where the game's going to be won. So, yeah, start fast, but you don't necessarily have to punch first. Don't get scared or upset, I guess, if Florida scores a touchdown or 2 quick and early.
Yeah, and then a lot of it will also come down to which version of DJ Lagway in that offense we do see. Right now, one of my questions, will Lagway be able to avoid the turnovers? I don't expect him to, but is it 1 turnover or is it 4? Right now, State has 8 players who've recorded an interception. And outside of the LSU game, Lagway's only had 2 interceptions. He did have the 5 against LSU, so he looked downright awful. So if he has that kind of game where he's just throwing it freebies to the defense, that's big for us. And then also Florida, Tucker said it, he's worried about what could happen if Jaden Ball, is that right? Ball gets going. Against Texas, he had 27 carries for 107 yards and a touchdown. State's rush defense has looked good when fresh. It looked good for the first half of the Arizona State game. It looked good for the Tennessee game. But it's one of those things, like I said earlier, where if we're getting kind of not to compare Jaden Ball to Derrick Henry, but the Derrick Henry effect of when he runs the ball for 3.5 yards a carry for the first half, and then in the second half it's 6 or 7. Freak. They're right next to each other.
You're just actually unreal. The amount you say is ridiculous.
They're right next to each other. Anyway, he goes for 3.5 carries in the first half, or 3.5 yards a carry in the first half, and then gets going in the second half. That's kind of what
how many yards a carry?
7-ish, around there.
Okay.
Sometimes a little less than 7, and then sometimes a little more.
Sure.
But that's kind of how our defense could. That's what our defense could allow. If they're out there and if Ball goes for 30 yards on 15 carries in the first half. I also love what Tucker said about scaring Billy into putting everything on DJ, which goes back to if we can get up 7, or if we can keep it close and they start to panic and they start putting things on DJ, that does give us a better chance of succeeding.
Yeah, I am also interested just to see the continued growth of DJ and the wide receivers. Dallas Wilson is now healthy. Eugene Wilson is also playing really well. They're just kind of guys that if they're in the groove, it doesn't really matter what DB's covering them. They're going to make the 50-50 balls, 80-20 balls in their favors. They're going to make contested catches. and I understand Lagway hasn't necessarily looked fantastic, but he's getting better and better as the season goes on because he's getting healthier and healthier. Now apparently he can't run, according to Billy Napier, which is kind of a crazy admission to make about your quarterback. But that's just something else I'm kind of interested to see is how y'all's DBs do against in the one-on-one matchups,
Yeah, and
or if y'all just don't put your DBs in that spot.
I'm also really interested to see what our run game looks like, because even without Albert Reese, our run game looked good for that first half of the A&M game. That was with Fluff. We still have Devon Booth, who I loved coming back. And then we also have, I think, is it Xavier Gayton? Is he the one who started? He was starting to he has started himself as RB3 behind Bothwell and Booth, especially in the lesser games, Alcorn State and NIU. I think
Yes.
the NIU game was big.
He had a
What
touchdown in that game.
Yeah. What does the split look like? He's averaging 10 yards a carry on 9 carries. He's got 9 carries for 100 yards, which is, like I said, against lesser opponents, but
Better than having 9 carries and 15 yards.
exactly. If can he come in and provide some valuable touches to spell Booth? Because we don't have Bothwell for this week. What is the running game specifically look like? Because it looked good even without Albert Reese for parts of last week or 2 weeks ago.
I think it's a fair point. I'm more concerned on what does it look like with Devon Booth.
Yeah.
Just because he was not running at the same rate that Fluff was. Fluff was breaking a ton of tackles. Fluff was showing explosiveness as well. So that kind of concerns me. Booth had the big carry on the scoring drive that he gets eaten up on by the turf monster. And I trust him in space, but I'm concerned to see what that'll look like when it's his backfield for the most part.
Sure.
Against Florida.
I think that's a great point. Anything else you want to add, or shall we get into picking this game? Well,
It'll be it's gonna be helmet matchup as well.
Yeah, it's
Florida's
huge.
wearing their backup helmets, or not their backup helmets.
Throwback.
Throwback helmets. Yep, that include back. I just had the wrong word. Throwback helmets. I said backup instead of throwback.
happens.
They are wearing the UF logo helmets, and then not allegedly, I can confirm via a source I have that we are wearing the MSU helmets, the interlocking letters, the white one that we wore against Florida, or not Florida, that we will wear against Florida, that we wore against Tennessee. So a great little helmet matchup on the SEC Network this Saturday. It'll be one of the better ones, and we haven't confirmed what colors we're wearing, so I don't know if we're wearing white on white or anything yet, but that is something to look forward to. It'll be a nice sight to see on the screen after much of the fan base has complained about that for the past week, actually 2 weeks, that we didn't wear that against A&M when we made such a big deal about getting rid of the banner so we could go to the script, but now we want to get rid of the script just as quickly and go to the interlocking, which I understand and I agree with. But it's crazy. What are we gonna do next? We want to go from the interlocking to the old banner one before the banner that was just the square one.
No,
And then you're gonna want
Which I
Walking Bully.
do love that one.
you like that one?
On the white helmet, that's one of my favorite helmets we've ever worn.
Oh,
I like that logo. But it's just that was childhood, 4 through 8 years old state.
You
So
want to know my guilty pleasure favorite helmet we've ever worn? Is the white helmet with the big silver bully just outlined.
yeah, from
that-
2013 or
That
so.
helmet was it? I thought it was a little.
It was right before Dak.
Yeah, that helmet was electric.
Yeah.
I loved that helmet. It was just the white and
With
the
Tyler
silver.
Smith.
Tyler Russell.
Tyler Russell.
Tyler
Not Tyler
Russell.
Russell. Not Tyler Smith. Tyler Russell.
Yeah. Anyway, we can get into picking the
Yeah.
game.
I would love to see the Walking Bully because that's my favorite state logo.
You can't really beat that kind of logo, honestly. Just the mascot doing even the Western Kentucky breaking out their big red helmets. That's stuff like that's fire. Anyway, the spread's 9.5. Florida's favored. JP, I don't even need to ask you. I'm just gonna. You're taking Mississippi State to win and cover, I'd assume.
I'm going to take the Dogs to win and cover. I think this game just kind of profiles well for us. Tucker makes a good point, and I agree. I think this team at this point may roll over. This would be their 5th game in a row. And we're coming off a bye. We got healthy. That was a big thing. We should be at least healthier. That was a problem, I think, going into the A&M game,
100%.
for being honest. Albert Reese, of course, being out, but I can tell you firsthand, Brendan Thompson was not at 100% for much of that game. And Coach Levy talked about it this week, that he thinks Thompson is in a way better spot now than he was going into that game, and I think that's going to help us a ton. That's been the element we've missed last week, or 2 weeks ago against A&M. We couldn't hit that shot until the game was out of reach, and it didn't matter. So I think that's just going to be a huge factor, and the vibes are just completely different in both locker rooms. It feels like Sunbelt Billy is going to be one of the SEC coaches fired this weekend to go along with Hugh Freeze, and I won't be surprised if we are a part of firing another head coach in the SEC.
Yeah.
Which can either be a good thing or a bad thing. I know Missouri talked about that. They've been talking about that in their fan base this week, that 5 coaches have been fired after losing to Missouri.
Someone made the point that that's not a flex.
Exactly,
That's
and I agree. Brian Haydad was saying that we fired a head coach losing 51-10, so it may not even matter what happens with Florida this
That's what
weekend.
I was
They may
gonna
still
ask, is
fire him regardless.
Yeah.
And I won't be surprised if they do. But I am going to take the Dogs to win, of course, cover. I think we'll go down to Gainesville. We'll get a huge road win. Our team and Coach Levy have talked about this game almost like it's a Super Bowl, because right now the goal in-house is, quote, get playoff eligible as soon as possible, or postseason eligible as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's a good. I was like, I don't know if playoff eligible is.
But not like the college football playoff, but just get to 6 wins.
Yeah.
And we can get a step closer if we do that this weekend. I think we will.
Sure.
5-2 Dogs, first SEC win of the season.
In a minute.
I will also take us to win and cover, or just win, because if we win, we did cover. We've been really good against the spread all year, as favorites, as underdogs. So coming off that bye week, and like JP said, it's not just the guys on the injury report that got healthier. It's all the guys who didn't show up, even besides Brendan Thompson. 2 weeks of rest just makes a huge difference playing against a team who's playing their 5th game in a row. The bruises, the soreness, the guys who tweaked something, but it wasn't enough to be on the injury report, but it still hurt all game. It's big. So we are fresh, hopefully, and they will not be. And then we're also good. We're very confident. That's one of the most exciting things about this season. And I think that one of the most tangible ways of seeing it, the difference in the way the team approaches every game. I get to be on the field during games. I run a camera. For every game, when we've been kicking it off, in big moments, when we kick it off into the student section, it's a touchback. The the up men down, whoever's going down, they run through the Tennessee and they come into the student section and they're just excited and they've got energy. And I think that that's the best example, the most tangible example I can show you of how different this year's team is. They're excited on the field, off the field. There's energy on the field, off the field, and it's so easy to see, and it shows in how we've played and how we've competed. So yeah, and I don't know if Florida's going to have that with all of the Billy Napier stuff and all of the negativity around that program that's happening right now. I think that we've got a lot of momentum on our side, and I feel like they have the exact opposite. So I'll take us to win and cover and win.
Yeah. All fair points. I do think Mississippi State covers. I do not think Mississippi State wins this game, though.
Why is that?
Just talking about the talent profile once again, I think you're going to see DJ Lagway hit his receivers. I think the biggest thing is Fluff Bothwell is killer.
Yeah.
He's just been better than Booth this season.
Yeah.
I know firsthand as an A&M fan what happens when your lead back goes down in a season. When they've kind of been a lot of the engine of the offense, it doesn't go very well. And I low-key just think somehow, some way, Sunbelt Billy gets his boys ready to play no matter what's going on. And so I don't think you all have a lot of momentum, but I think they're going to be out there and ready to play in the swamp
And it's,
on Saturday.
what
So,
is it that Sark said? It's really hard to go into the swamp and win.
Yeah.
Very true.
And JP, what was your comeback to that?
He was saying that, and then he was also saying it's hard to go into the shoe. Of course, the last teams to win in the swamp are USF.
4
this
weeks
year.
ago, 5 weeks ago.
Yes, and Davis Warren, Michigan, won in the shoe. So he's right.
Yeah.
And he also added
Takes good
himself to
teams.
the coaches of that complain about the schedule being hard
Yeah.
in Kirby Smart.
Yeah. Well, that was my point, is that South Florida did it. Why not us? I got us.
Yeah, sure. Things happen, though. It is still hard to win in the swamp.
All right, next, let's respond. Okay, let's see. Thought we wouldn't have Fluff. I don't think we know when we're gonna have Fluff back. To those in the chat talking about it, I'm gonna call that the end of that segment. I don't think we'll know when we will have Fluff back. Yeah, that's exactly the point we were making, Sven, about Golesh beating and USF winning. That was the joke. It was a long developing 45-second joke, but we got there. Sven's got us winning. You want to move on to the next game, the fan game of the week?
Yeah, let's do the fan game of the week, which happens to be my team finds its way into the fan game, which I believe this is the first time it's happened. So
It is.
Shout out my team, as I legitimately cannot find. There it is. Texas A&M, undefeated still, goes on the road to Fayetteville, something they've not done in a while, considering this game typically is played in Jerry World in Dallas or Arlington, technically. But yeah, they go to Fayetteville to play Arkansas, where they are 7.5-point favorites. This game will kick off at 2:30, though, to note, bad rainstorms in the area, right around 2. Pretty unpredictable radar, so nothing could come of it, or it could be, bad thunderstorms. So this game may not kick off at 2:30. It could be more like 4 or 5, which could really tilt the outcome of this game as well.
Yeah, they haven't played in Fayetteville since September 28th of 2013.
Yeah.
Wow.
The
Which was
quarterback,
y'all's second year in the SEC.
quarterback of that game was none other than the young Johnny Manziel.
Shout out Johnny.
They won 45-43. Texas A&M, or 45-33. Texas A&M won. Then the last 10 years, or the last 10 matchups at least,
Sure.
have been
Was
in
he the young
Arlington.
Johnny? Wasn't he a redshirt sophomore at that point?
Yeah,
He was a redshirt sophomore, but he was a lot younger then than
He
he
is now. Yeah, that is
So-
true. Factual.
Jim and I called him young. I didn't call him young.
Oh, that's what Jim and I called him young? Interesting.
It's very all right. Jim and I, that's very strange.
Not
Anyway,
the adjective I would have chosen.
what I'm looking for as an A&M fan in this game is just keep doing what you've been doing, to be honest, which is no matter who's on the other side, you just go play the game and you just grind. You just throw punch after punch after punch. You win games no matter how the game script goes, whether it's a Notre Dame game and the score's in the 40s, which I hope doesn't happen but could happen in this game because Arkansas is the best offense we've faced since Notre Dame, considering the state offense was tired and beat up when we played them. I'm not trying to dog on y'all, but just situationally.
Nope, it's fair.
So our defense has improved, but maybe we end up in that kind of game. Or if somehow, some way, Arkansas decides to start playing defense and stops our run game, the loss of Le'Veon Moss, who's not going to play for at least a couple weeks, really hinders us. Can the defense, do what it has been doing and step up and win us a defensive kind of game? So that's really just what I want to see from us. In terms of key points for Arkansas, you're going to have to run the ball successfully, which they have done pretty well, whether with their running backs or Taylon Green, who's had a very, very good season. Because you're going to do that to control the time of possession, help out your defense as much as possible. And then it's just a thing of the defense has to find a way to get a couple stops. They're not going to magically become a great unit, but you got to give the offense some sort of help. And so what does that look like? But what are y'all's thoughts on this game?
It'll be Petrino's first game
Sure.
in Razorback Stadium this year. He coached last week, of course, at Tennessee. I think the total 60.5. So this game more than likely profiles as one of those games that's potentially in the 40s. Arkansas, outside of the Notre Dame game, the lowest points they've scored this year is 31. 3 of those games being on the road. So this team should be able to score fine. I think even against Texas A&M, this feels like such a obvious letdown spot for the Aggies. And tell
Agreed.
me, I was going to ask you if you disagree, and you agree. And I agree with myself, of course.
For many reasons. You have to go on the road. We've not gone on the road in a minute. It's our first road conference game. It's the return of Petrino and Fayetteville. This kind of feels like their last gasp, honestly, because it's Petrino's first game back. If they lose this one, it's kind of like, we're just going to wait till next year at this point. But I expect it to be pretty crowded, barring really, really bad weather. Maybe it'll scare some fans away. But yeah, stuff like that. The last time we were number 4 in the country, we went to Starkville, and y'all know how that game went. It did not go well for us.
Emmanuel Forbes pick six, or was that?
No,
that was before.
Nick Fitzgerald's 75-yard
That
touchdown
was-
run on
okay.
the first play of the game, and then Trevor Knight breaks his hand, and the
Were
season
you-
derails
how
from there.
high were y'all when y'all lost to App State? Like 6?
5th, I believe.
5th. Okay.
I believe we were 5th when we lost to App
Okay.
State. So yeah, we've not been this high since the fateful trip to Starkville.
Cool.
So there's just a lot of reasons to not love this spot for us, but there's also a lot of reasons to trust that we can continue doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this game, Sanders?
I think the weather, if the weather's bad, that helps y'all out. Taylon Green and Omega Blake have been cooking. Taylon Green is a quarterback that we talked about. He was on JP's QB prospects list coming into the season.
Still is.
Yeah, as a very raw, talented guy, but like hadn't shown the high end like consistent play from the more experienced quarterbacks. But I think that physically in the trenches, y'all are bigger than they are and outmatch them. And so I think if the rain turns this in, takes away kind of the shootout aspects of it, I think that benefits y'all, because I don't expect Arkansas to be able to hang with y'all in like a 21-17 kind of game if balls are slippery and guys receivers are dropping passes and QBs are dropping snaps. Like I think that benefits y'all.
Yeah, I do think it's a thing of like I get the weather could benefit us, but as the team that's a favorite, I don't want to add any extra variables into the game. Any way the game can change or get ugly, or we can get thrown off what we've been doing. Because I just talked about how we've been rolling and we come into every game just ready to punch. But if we have to sit in the locker room for 2 hours, like how does that affect us? How does that affect our ability to come out ready to punch? Stuff like that. I'm going to address Finn in the chat because he said, "Let me ask you this with no disrespect: who is Petrino and what has he done that a loaded Aggies team should be scared of Arkansas?" I get that we're a loaded team and we are better than Arkansas, but this is college football. Stuff happens. Tucker Metland saying he had Arkansas as the 3rd best team in the country. I don't think, different era, but he definitely still is a competent offensive mind, knows how to get the boys ready to play, knows how to put points up on teams. So there's reason to be worried, but then also there's a reason to spread 7.5 at the same time because we clearly are the better team. There's just insane week-to-week variance in college football. And kind of, you were talking about, wide receivers dropping passes, QBs dropping snaps. The last point I've not mentioned is I just think we also really need to protect the football in this game. Because for a defense that can't really get stops on its own, the last thing you want to do is have Marcel Reed drop back as he did against Florida and think he has a man and the safety shaded that side. He throws in double coverage, is picked in the end zone, or he drops a snap, or the running back fumbles. Don't give them stops. Make them earn their stops. That's kind of the last thing for me. But
And I don't even think it's necessarily a valid point because it doesn't matter what they've shown you or what Petrino's shown you. In fact, last week they showed that they can be competitive with one of the best teams in the SEC in Tennessee on the road in a night game in Knoxville. But interim coaches or like the second head coach after someone's fired have won these kinds of games. Or at least been competitive in these kinds of games all the damn time. We think of like Greg Knox here, the Brian Harsin when he was fired.
Tim Skipper at UCLA right now.
Yes, already this year UCLA
Correct.
has beaten Penn State in a dramatic game at home. So I would completely disagree with that point.
Virginia Tech has picked up some wins, or at least a win since fire. Oh, was it the one win?
Yeah, I believe that.
Because we previewed it as a fan game of the week. It was them versus their SDS opponent.
They beat
Wofford.
Wofford.
Yeah.
So I
Never mind.
don't think that's
I
as
couldn't
valid.
remember who they played. I just remembered.
It breaks one or two ways with the interim coach, and it's a turnaround or it's more of the same, and we just don't know here yet. And at the
Mike
very least-
Elko is an interim head coach, and he gets hired to be the head coach fully. So
It's a road. It's a road SEC game. Also, at the end of the day, and we talk all the time about how deep this league is and how hard it is to win in this league. And so I'm not just going to brush that away, even though we are the better team in this matchup.
I'm going to disagree with you again, Sven. I think Arkansas is going to be really competitive in this game, regardless of how the weather goes, really in any way that this game goes. I think the letdown spot will get to A&M. If the weather holds off, I fully trust Arkansas to score points against A&M. I fully trust Taylon Green. Even if he's getting pressured, he's a better athlete than each and every one of your pass rushers. And that's going to be a problem if you guys can't keep contained.
I trust Cassius Howell, man.
Malik Washington has been running the ball really effectively. He ran for 130 last week against Tennessee. As long as he doesn't fumble, then Arkansas is in fine shape there. Shout out him for choking against Memphis. But I think it's going to be a full crowd. Everyone's going to be there and support Petrino's first game at home with Arkansas. It just feels like such a classic letdown spot. And when you're looking to pick the big-time upsets, you're looking for a quarterback that can be Superman. And if there's any damn quarterback in the country that can be Superman, it's Taylon Green for 3 hours. I think Arkansas is going to win.
Okay.
Wow.
This weekend and defeat the Aggies. I think the cursed Aggie syndrome gets to them, and I think they're going to win. This is payback for you picking Florida.
All right, fair enough. We'll revisit on Sunday and see how it's gone.
I really like them plus 7.5 just because I love those kinds of spreads. I think Taylon Green can score with the Aggies, and I think the Le'Veon Moss injury hurts. Having only Reuben Owens to kind of rely on because of that. I think this is a shootout, and I think Arkansas has the ball last and goes out and scores last.
I see. Having the ball last. You had me until you said they had the ball last. Because if they have the ball last, they're going to fumble it or something.
Well, they were more passive in that game because they had the lead.
But I'm just saying that in 2 games where they've had the ball last with the chance to go win it, they have fumbled it both
New
times.
head coach.
New head coach. Okay.
Completely different scenario.
Yeah.
And they're at home this time compared to those 2 games against Memphis
And Ole Miss.
and T-Sun. So give me the Razorbacks to win and cover as my mandatory one big upset pick of the weekend.
Sure. I'll go next, I guess.
Is State not a bigger upset?
I wish.
It's a 9.5 point spread versus 7.5.
Doesn't
This would
feel
be a
that
bigger
way.
upset
Does
Okay.
not feel that way.
in terms of the national scale and the
4th-ranked team losing
national
on the road to a
implications.
2-4 Arkansas Razorbacks.
with an interim
Yeah.
head coach.
I agree. I was just bringing up the spread.
Yeah,
You go ahead and go next.
I do think this has a lot of makings to be a trap game, but also I have a ton of reason to believe in this A&M team, and so I am going to take us to cover in what will be a closer game. I'm not going to subscribe to Sven's 24-point win. As much as I would love that, that'd be sick. That'd be fantastic. Because also something else to note, the way this game has gone in its history is chaos games. We played an overtime game against them in 4 straight years or something crazy like that. We did win all 4, which is nuts.
Yeah.
We had the oink doink game where they're down 2 and their kicker hits the top of the upright and it bounces back into the end zone. So we win that game. Just crazy stuff like that. But like I said, we've shown this year we're going to come into every game and just keep punching until we break through, either defensively or offensively, and it'll probably be offensively in this game. Yes, Le'Veon Moss is out. That hurts. But we have a healthier Reuben Owens. He was out last year. Jamarian Morrow learned the name. He's a true freshman that we're handing the ball off to, trying to go up 2 scores against Florida on 3rd down. We need a first down, and we're saying, you go get it for us because we trust you that much. So learn that name. And then Tucker, the pucker meter would go from a 4 to a 5 because I'm basically always going to start the game at a 4 no matter who we're playing, at least a 4. It could go higher. But it's kind of just how Mike Elko defenses go. We kind of get punched in the mouth early, and then we'll bounce back. We're susceptible to scripted drives, as most people is. Florida jumped all over us to start the game, and then we shut them down after the first quarter. So I'm not really too worried. I honestly expect them to score early, and then we go from there. So I wouldn't get too worried if they score. Go up 7-0.
Yeah, and then I will pick Arkansas. It's 7.5. And what's the rule, JP? We've talked about it before. It's your rule that you taught us.
If a favorite is favored by 7.5 points, take the underdog because there are more possibilities for them to lose by 7 points than it is for them to lose by 8 or more points.
Yep. That's our one rule. And then how many teams are there in the FBS?
132?
136.
136.
We got to work on that. We had it locked in.
I know it on college
It
basketball.
changes.
We had it locked. It's the same in college basketball, or I guess it's not.
Not the same.
It's not the same.
It's like 164.
Is it 164?
Yeah,
Okay.
because you have way more conferences.
Yeah, we had it locked in during college basketball season. It was a running joke, and then we've been trying to do it in college football, and we can't. It's 136. It was 134 last year, and then we added a couple.
It might be more than 164. Let me check KenPom.
Yeah. While you do that, there's no one in chat to respond to, which is what we do here. So we just want to move on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, there's way more. Yeah, I'm stupid. There's 365 this year.
Yes.
Yeah, that I was gonna say 164 sounded a little low, but I didn't dwell on the number too much.
Yeah. All right. Next game up. I think these are in kickoff like 11 a.m.
Start going top to bottom.
Yep. There we go.
The Washington Huskies, who are somehow not ranked. The People's Poll has that right. The AP poll does not. They go on the road to face Michigan, where Michigan is a 5.5-point favorite coming off a loss to USC, a pretty bad loss in terms of how they looked on the field. Thoughts on this game, guys?
So it's going to be it's big noon kickoff, but it won't be Gus Johnson and Joe Klatt on the call. They're going to call the Holy War, but it's big noon kickoff for Washington, meaning they essentially are playing. They're playing at a 9 a.m. body kick, but it could be even longer because they're playing out in Seattle. So
they're playing.
It's playing at Michigan.
Yeah.
It'll be a 9 a.m. body kick for Washington.
Oh yeah.
Because of the time difference.
Yep.
Can they start fast? We've already kind of seen this scenario. Utah played on big noon at Utah. Utah started super slow in that game and really did not get going until the fourth quarter. Washington did get the extra rest by getting to play on Friday night against Rutgers, and Michigan had to play Saturday night all the way in USC, so there's some travel dynamics there as well that may help Washington with playing for a 9 a.m. body kick. For me, the key is going to be how does Michigan defend the big three. So they're playing Washington. That'll be Demon Williams, Jonah Coleman, and Denzel Boston. Against other big threes, the Michigan game, the USC game, the Oklahoma game, and the Nebraska game. The USC game, Maiyava had 265, King Miller had 158 on the ground, and Mekhi Lemon had 93 yards. The Oklahoma game, John Mateer was two parts of the big three, 270 through the air, 74 on the ground, and Denzel Burks had 101 through the air. And in the Nebraska game, Raiola had 308 yards through the air, Johnson had 65 on the ground, and Isaiah Hunter only had 34 yards, but Corey Barney had 120 receiving yards. So they have not done good in those three games, and they are 1-2 in those three games. Now, albeit all three of those games were on the road, and maybe the big house can help them. But for me, that's the biggest factor in this game. How do they stop Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, and Denzel Boston?
Yeah, it's kind of the key point for anyone playing Washington. Going back to the body time, 9 a.m. kickoff for Washington in terms of body time, it is also a big concern considering how they've started other games when they've traveled. The Rutgers game, they started slow. The Maryland game, they started slow. It looked like they were maybe going to lose that game before they have a big fourth quarter to end up coming back and winning that one. So it's like not only do they need to start fast, but there's kind of reason to believe they won't start fast. Another key point, Justice Haynes may or may not play. He's questionable right now, and he's integral for Michigan's offense. Michigan's offense has not functioned very well this season. It's not been a consistent offense, but he is kind of the one consistent piece of this offense. You can guarantee he's going to get 100-plus rushing yards. He's probably going to pop a big run at some point. He just kind of has the knack for that. And so if they don't have them, I think the goal for the Washington defense is don't allow the explosive plays and make this Michigan offense drive on you, because I don't really think Michigan's offense is capable, especially without Justice Haynes, of driving down the field time after time after time after time, because their passing game really isn't there. Their Andrew Marsh, I will say, true freshman, had a pretty good game. I was rewatching the USC game yesterday night, and I was like, who is this kid? I was like,
True
all right,
freshman.
he's making plays.
It's on my fantasy football team. So
Congrats.
Nice.
McCauley is kind of their other big weapon. But, yeah, if you're Washington, just make them have to drive on you, because you can kind of expect them not to be able to do that consistently.
yeah, I think this is becoming a reoccurring thing. We've probably said this every time we talk to Michigan, but it's been very disappointing for how Michigan, one, has used Bryce Underwood. He has only 13 scrambles this season, and considering what he put on tape, that's insane. 7 of those were against Central Michigan, so that'll tell you how good Central Michigan is, that they forced Bryce to scramble 7 times. They lost by, I think it was 53-0. So shout out the Chippewas. But they have not used Bryce well, and then they were also not set up well for Bryce. Donovan McCauley has been like the only receiving threat. Andrew Marsh had a great game last week, but that was his only game outside of one other game this season where he had catches.
Sure.
He had 8 catches last week against USC and had the big touchdown in the second half. So I agree. Washington could just make Michigan drive the field. And if they don't have Justice Haynes, it kind of feels like the gig is up and it's over for Bryce Underwood in Michigan in the big house. I'll say it, though. I think this is another one of those it's another one of those teams. Like you said, these West Coast teams having to travel east have struggled. Last year, Washington was 0-4 on the road when they had to travel east. Excuse me. And, of course, the Maryland game this year, they kind of escaped in the fourth quarter. They'll have to travel all the way to Michigan again, and then with the 9 a.m. body kick, I just don't know if it works out and it helps them. Big House is already kind of a tough place to play anyway, considering it is the biggest stadium in the country. So I would love to see Washington win this game, but it's really hard to pick them unless you just have that much faith in Damon Williams and their other 2 stars.
Yeah, and last thing, speaking on Damon Williams, what he needs to do in this game is, first off, avoid the negative plays. He's had sack issues in their biggest games. Took 6, I believe, against Ohio State this year. Took 10 in their game against Oregon last year. I know he's explosive. He's fantastic at extending plays, but he needs the success rate of doing that to be a little higher in these bigger games. And then at the same time, though, he needs to not take those negative plays. But Michigan has struggled against scrambling QBs. John Mateer got him on the ground a little bit. The Central Michigan QB had some success on the ground. So you have to find a way to use his, let him use his legs without getting sacked 6 times, because that's going to hurt you. So anything you want to add, Sanders, or shall we
Nope.
pick this game?
Let's pick it.
Cool. Well, Michigan is favored by negative. Favored by 5.5. I was just reading, and so I saw a minus sign. It was like negative.
Yep.
Favored by 5.5. I'll go first. I'm going to pick Washington to win this game. I'm terrified doing so because of all the trends of West Coast teams traveling east. But I just trust this Washington team way more than I trust this Michigan team right now. I said it on Sunday's show. I'm out on Sharon Moore. And so to give me Washington to cover and also give me them to win outright, because I have I don't know. It's just it's going to be my kind of upset pick of the week, even though it wouldn't really feel like that big of an upset. But from a spread-wise, sure. And also I can say that and not take the L if they don't win, but they cover.
I'm going to pick Michigan to cover, because I am going to go with the trends of teams struggling to come across the country and play early kickoffs for their body. I'm going to take Michigan with their home field advantage. I'm going to take Michigan. I don't know if I would say, they've got 2 losses now, and I don't know the rest of their schedule off the top of my head, but, this is a team that I think I picked to make the playoffs, because the thought was they could lose 2 games, and I had Oklahoma and Ohio State. Losing to USC kind of throws a wrench in that.
But they beat Ohio State. That's a guarantee.
That's probably what it was. Is I had them losing 2 games. They can't lose this game. If you get the third loss, then at large bid for the playoff, or even with one conference loss, they're still in contention for the Big Ten championship. I don't think they have the quarterback to win that right now, or at least they're not using him properly to win it right now.
I don't think they have the offense to win it right now. I wouldn't necessarily put it on him.
They still have a defense that could get this team to 10 wins, but you kind of have to win this game. So I'm going to pick them to cover.
Honestly, I feel like their defense has just been a letdown this year as well.
It's
not been that same vaunted or feared Michigan defense.
They've been good in forcing turnovers, but so much of this for me is their just struggles offensively.
Yeah.
They have not been good. 13 points at USC and 13 points at Oklahoma in those 2 games that they lost this year. I think the defense will help them a little bit, but I think they win this game kind of in an ugly fashion. I'm going to take them to win and cover by 7 points.
Sure.
This kind of feels like maybe a 20-13 kind of game, and I'll take Michigan to win that game. I made too much of a big deal about it last week with the Michigan and USC game, and I was correct because I normally am. But since I made a big deal about it again, I'm gonna say it.
Sure.
Or I'm gonna trust myself again, and I'm gonna pick Michigan to win and cover.
Makes sense. Mont, I would love to see Washington play UNLV because Jonah Coleman would run for over 200 yards and Damon Williams would add 100 yards on the ground himself. So you're more than welcome to make that ranking, and happy to see you come in and defend it.
He did make the point.
Both as you and as your mom. Really getting some good backing.
Really
I love to see that.
Someone forgot to change their YouTube TV account.
So
he does make the point. UNLV beat UCLA, and that's turning into a quality win.
Different teams at the time. It's a similar thing of like, I do view the Penn State win, Oregon's win over Penn State as a little less now, but like I don't completely discount that because Penn State was not broken at the point Oregon beat them. So I do appreciate that actually. Thank you.
That is huge.
We love that support. So I'll stop dogging on you. Great rankings this week, Mont. All right, let's get on to our next game.
All right, next up is LSU at Vanderbilt.
For the first time in like 177 SEC games or something around there, Vandy is favored as LSU comes to town. Number 10 LSU goes on the road to number 17 Vandy, where Vandy people is a 2.5-point favorite. What are y'all's thoughts on this game?
That's just so crazy. But I think that it's kind of been expected for weeks. I believe I saw a tweet like after maybe it's been like 4 weeks ago that ESPN FPI, which like they do like odds farther out than like just an upcoming week, had Vanderbilt favored. But it is just insane. And it's not only that Vanderbilt is favored against an SEC opponent. Their SEC opponent has a 10 in front of them. I think a lot of it's going to come down to Vanderbilt has a bye week, which is big for them, being able to get rested. I don't know. Did LSU also, who did they play last week? Were they on a bye?
No, they played South Carolina.
That's
in
right.
Their 20 millionth night game at home in the SEC.
That's all they get.
Yep.
We go there. A&M goes there next week for a night game.
It's insane.
Which makes a little more sense than South Carolina being a night game, but I digress.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Aaron Anderson, LSU's best receiver, and he's going to be a good draft pick and then become another great LSU receiver. Probably is going to play. He's probable at the moment. But he's dealing with a knee issue. So like even if he does play, he's not at 100%, and he is a key part to Nussmeier and this LSU offense. LSU, their offense has scored more than 23 points just once this season against Southeastern Louisiana, where they scored 56 points. Every other game has been under those 23 points. They want to throw the ball a ton. Last week was the first time that they ran for more than 4 yards per carry against South Carolina. They ran for 5.5 yards per carry. But for me, the key to this game is going to be how does Vandy play? Off the bye week one, off the kind of a technically an emotional letdown and a loss to Alabama where you felt like you're in that game and you gave it away. And how will they play against LSU's defense? LSU's defense has given up more than 10 points just once this season when they lost to the school up north 24-19. So Vandy's got to score. Obviously, you have to score to win games, but how do they fare against this LSU defense? I think that kind of tells the story of the day. My other kind of question was like, what's the crowd going to be like? We'll talk about this in a game coming up. In fact, the next game. But is it going to be like a 60-40 Vandy crowd? Is this going to be an 80-20 Vandy crowd? Because LSU fans travel. They're not afraid to. And in the SEC, pretty much everybody travels to Vanderbilt too, because you travel. I spoke about this with our State Tennessee game. When you're an SEC team and you feel like, oh, we're going to beat this team, now it's the opportunity to travel and go see that game. It's also in Nashville. Nashville's a great city to travel to. So is LSU going to be like 50-50 with this crowd in their makeshift stadium that's still under construction? I think it could end up hurting Vanderbilt in a way. But I want to see how Pavia plays against that defense. Does he avoid the turnovers? Is he able to score in key moments? Because there's not really a reason to trust LSU's offense right now at all. And with less than 100% Aaron Anderson, there's even less of a reason. I'm going to say last week was a fluke running the ball against South Carolina. I don't think they would continue to have that kind of success. And so if Vanderbilt can score
feels like a race to
21 points, 3 touchdowns, I think they have a really good chance to win and cover.
Yeah, and I love what you said about Diego Pavia taking care of the ball and scoring in key moments, because last time we saw him against Alabama, 2 red zone turnovers. That's the worst case scenario for when it comes to taking care of the ball and scoring in key moments. You're not doing either of those things. So I think that's going to be a big part. Is can he not only avoid the turnovers, but don't turn the ball over in the red zone. You're throwing away 3 free points at that point and potential 7 points. That's just worst case scenario. And then as far as like home field advantage goes, I don't foresee it being majority LSU. I think I think that the reason there were so many Tennessee fans is because State was expected to be really bad coming into this season. I don't think Vanderbilt had that expectation. I think that I think Diego Pavia had created excitement in that Vanderbilt fan base to the point where like the tickets were in such high demand that most of them, if not all of them, are going to be like Vanderbilt fans.
Sure.
So I don't expect it to be majority LSU. I could be very wrong. It just makes a lot more sense that when a team is projected to win 3.5 games, that's when opposing teams are going to waltz in and like pack it out like 50-50.
Yeah, I still don't think it's going to be a scenario there where LSU walks in and the first possession, it's like, wow, Garrett Nussmeier can't hear.
Yeah.
Oh, back-to-back false starts.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
I think you could have every Vanderbilt student on that campus in that stadium. That wouldn't be the case.
Yeah,
it only holds like 6,000, not 6,000. That's the student body is 6,000. I don't know how large the stadium is. It's not large.
6,000 would be insane.
The student
body
is
have
6,000.
like just it's a high school stadium at that point. Basically, you got a home visitor.
It's
side
probably
with
not bigger
decent
than. Hold on.
bleachers.
Do you want? Let's guess because you already looked. You just
Yeah,
looked it
I
up.
have it.
45,000.
No, I don't think it's 40. I'm gonna say 38.
You would win it, and the price is right. 40,000.
Bang. I would win. I was closer and
Yeah,
under.
you'd
so
win
I'd
it both ways.
Win it either way.
This game is gonna 100% be a defensive slugfest. I know we're hearing Garrett Nussmeier is the healthiest he's been all season. I'll believe it when I see it. The run game's not been there for them consistently, but the one thing that they will hang their hat on is defensive, just excellence, to be honest. And I think that can continue in this game. The big thing is like, can you just keep loading the box and then play one-on-one on the outside and dare them to take deep shots and just trust Mansour Delane, A.J. Halsey, the other corner, to make plays and to just not lose one-on-ones? Can you get away with that? Can Vandy, even with a loaded box, find success on the run or in the short pass game, the like extension of the run game and the screens and the quarterback scrambles and all of that, and have success there? What does that look like? I think this could be a big Eli Stowers game, personally. Yeah. Just talking about one-on-one matchups on the outside. Well, then he's got the big frame to like win one-on-one matchups or make catches over the middle, get involved in the run game. He's a former quarterback. Maybe, do a little double pass action with them, something like that. But
maybe you roll him out to the left for like a screen pass on the 2-yard line.
Yeah, maybe you do that. Hopefully he
be-
catches it, and hopefully he
Is
gets
first,
set
yeah.
first. But no, it 100% just kind of feels like a race to 20.
Yeah.
Not even a race, a like crawl to 20.
Yeah.
Who's gonna crawl to 20? Who's gonna force the big turnover where then their offense only has to drive 25 yards to score? Something like that is kind of what I'm looking at for this game.
And that being said, can I go ahead and make my pick? Or you have more to say, JP?
I was gonna say just piggyback, and then he can. Total's 48.5, and Josh Pate said he considered making it one of his best bets, but he hasn't put
To bet the under?
to bet the under on
yeah.
48.5, but he doesn't put best bets on there.
Low unders are just so scary because all it takes is like a stupid play late,
Yep.
or like, oh, someone returned a punt for a touchdown, and that doesn't normally happen. And then the 48, which feels really safe because it's there's such a low over, that like it just gets busted.
Yeah. That being said, being a race to 20, I trust Vanderbilt's offense to get to 20 more than I trust LSU's offense. And I'm going to pick them to win that game like 2017. Vanderbilt's favored by 2.5, which means that you want to take the team favored when you're getting that kind of number. So I will be taking Vanderbilt to cover.
Sure.
I learned. I remember.
I trust Vandy's offense to get to 20 more than I trust LSU's offense to get to 20. But I trust LSU's defense to keep Vandy from getting to 20 more than I trust Vandy's defense to keep LSU getting to 20. So I am going to take LSU to cover the 2.5, and that means most likely win this game.
I'm gonna take Vanderbilt. I think they'll win and cover the 2.5 points. I think the home field will help them. And obviously, if this was playing in Death Valley, it's a completely
I was going
different
to say,
story.
it's way
Yeah.
better than playing there at the very least.
So I think that is in large part why I feel that way. Like, even if it was a high school crowd, which their capacity is actually 35,000 right now with the renovations they're doing.
Sure.
That's exactly. I said exactly. Did I say
Look at you,
38?
yeah.
I
You
said
said
38.
38.
I said
38.
38.
Good try.
Freak.
That's still very well done, though.
Preach.
Well, then we both are wrong. Price is Right style. So
Correct.
Good thing we're not playing Prices Right.
Sure.
But I'm Vanderbilt. I think they will not turn the ball over and control the football and get to 21 points and win this game like 21-17. And then obviously, if I'm picking Vanderbilt, I'm taking the 2.5 points as well.
Yeah.
So give me Vandy to win and cover. To talk about like the discourse from Mott and Tucker, I don't necessarily disagree, but they also like, and to answer Tucker, they're the 10th ranked team in the nation, so the 10th ranked team is gonna feel like the most fraudulent top 10 team in a way. And this is also one of those like seasons that Jack and I had a argument that was 5 texts long about whether or not teams can do anything this season. It feels like every team has some kind of flaw in a way, and there are no perfect teams whatsoever. Like even Ohio State, you still have questions about Julian Sayin and whether or not they can run the football, and I could go on. And if LSU wins, no, they don't deserve to be in the top 5. Montgomery.
Well,
But I do think Tucker does raise a good point. I'd have to go back and look. Are they the most so yes, they are going to feel the most fraudulent in this year's ranking, but are they the most fraudulent like number 10 team? Because it feels like it might be pretty close.
I mean, I just feel like there's kind of a team or two every year where it's like, how is this team top 10? I don't
Yeah.
know for sure.
I don't think so because their defense is playing as a top 5 defense for the most part.
Yeah.
Defense wins championships.
And defense
True.
does win championships, and that's our biggest calling card for Ohio State being number 1 right now is their defense. In large part, it's one of the big calling cards for like Texas Tech right now is how well they've played defensively. So I don't even necessarily agree with that either. I think their defense is top 10, in fact top 5. Like I said, they've only allowed more than 10 points.
Sure.
Once this season. That was a game they lost.
In terms of Mont's question, very, very unlikely. I guess if for some reason Texas Tech lost, A&M lost, Ole Miss, you honestly almost need Ole Miss to win to help your resume, because then it's like, okay, we're a one-loss team and we lost to an undefeated SEC team
Yeah.
that just went on the road and beat Georgia. But it is very, very unlikely. But they really would just confirm their spot as a top 10 team, probably even really top 8 or something like that if they did win this game.
Yep.
And Sven, that stat is pretty crazy. I saw it earlier this week.
Yeah, I'll just read it out for people watch or listening later and not watching.
No, because who are they jumping, Mont? You'd need,
I
like
won't
Jack
read it out,
said, you
never
need A&M to lose. So it would have been Ohio State. It's going to be Ohio State, Miami, Indiana. You'd need A&M to lose. So that would knock that team out. And then, like Jack was saying, you kind of need the school up north to win. And that would keep them in the top 5. So there's 4 out of the 5 teams. And then you need Tennessee to go and beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa, which hasn't happened since 2003. So, but you could make the argument Tennessee could be in the top 5.
Sure.
With Georgia losing a second game. So I think it's just hard for them to be in the top 5. Maybe the top
They're
6.
right there, though. They're right there for sure.
You had a stat you were going to read, sorry.
Well, I was just going to read the stat that Sven commented.
Yes.
For those people listening and are not watching the live stream and can see the comment section. Last week, Lenora Sellers rushed 19 yards on 22 attempts, but his total number of yards traveled, including dropbacks and scrambling, was 894 yards.
He was running.
Aura.
He was hauling.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat. He was moving. LSU was forcing him to move all over.
They're a very good defense.
Yeah.
I will say what weeks I saw was questionable on the report.
Yeah,
I hope he
was just
plays.
looking at that. Have you picked?
We have all picked.
We've all picked.
Yes.
Cool.
So let's get on to our next game.
Georgia Tech at Duke. This is a game.
A key ACC matchup. Number 12 Georgia Tech goes to Duke. Both teams are undefeated in ACC play. Duke does have 2 non-conference losses. Georgia Tech's undefeated in general. But Duke is favored by 1.5 despite those 2 losses at home, though it really isn't that much of a home field advantage if you look at the Illinois game, and JP will get into it in just a minute as well. But key thoughts on this game, guys?
I'll go ahead and get into it right now.
Please do.
Tickets are as low as $28 for the Duke and Georgia Tech game. So that kind of tells you that people are trying to give away these tickets almost. Meaning I don't think Duke gets the crowd that they want, that they have gotten in these kind of big games against Notre Dame and against Clemson. You can think of most recently 2 years ago with Riley Leonard. So I don't think they have the crowd, and also it's a noon kickoff. We saw that with the Illinois game. There was almost no crowd for that game as well, and what was a big matchup for Duke, especially at that point in the season. We were talking potentially playoff for Duke. Georgia Tech is 0-4. They've turned it over 4 more times than they have forced a turnover. They haven't forced a turnover on the road this year. And they've turned it over 4 times on the road, 3 against Colorado and then 1 against Wake Forest. Duke in ACC play is averaging 42.6 points per game. That's across the last 3 weeks. So Darian Mensah has been cooking, and this offense has been cooking in ACC play. But the most passing yards given up by Georgia Tech this year is 219. And we're going to play a little game of guess which quarterback that was. You have 4 options. 219 passing yards. Caden Salter,
Robbie Ashford was the answer.
Kate Klubnik, Robbie Ashford, and Kyron Drones. Sanders, what is your pick?
Caden
Caden Salter from
I'll say
Colorado.
Caden Salter from Colorado. Yeah, I'll say Caden Salter.
It was Robbie Ashford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robbie Ashford threw for 219 yards.
The guy in our comment section was right.
All 4 of these quarterbacks were below
Yeah,
that.
how has he been other than that?
So I think that can be spun 2 ways. One, well, they haven't played a good quarterback that can throw the football because Cade's not throwing the ball well this year, and Caden Salter, Ashford, and Kyra Jones are all known for running. Darian Mensah's known for passing. Advantage Duke. I'm going to spin it the other way and say that Georgia Tech has a good pass defense, and I've seen it firsthand live in person. They were really effective in slowing down Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore in Atlanta in the big game that they walked off against Clemson, and I think they'll be effective again this weekend on the road, traveling to Duke. Obviously no home field advantage for Duke. So I think they will have success in slowing down Darian Mensah in this passing attack. And then on their side, it's just can they run the ball with their 3 guys in Haynes, King, Jamal Haynes, and then Hosley, who's kind of turned it on the last 2 weeks,
Sure.
running the ball. So I think Georgia Tech runs the ball really well in this game, and I think their pass defense is really good, and I think that is actually an advantage towards them, more so than it is that Darian Mensah is going to tear them apart.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's an advantage towards them, but maybe it's not like a disadvantage, if that makes sense. Maybe it's more of an even matchup.
Sure.
Because Mensah is throwing the ball really well. He is susceptible for a couple picks in the bigger games they've played this year. But the biggest thing for their offense, really, as I was kind of going into this more, because looking at the stats in the couple of games I've seen him played, it was like this is kind of the Mensah has to do it all offense. The run game has slowly come along as the season's gone on. Freshman Nate Shepard has started the past 2 games and is averaging 130 yards per game. So hopefully they can find some balance in this game. I do still have it in the notes, and I think this is true, is like if they want to win this game, there's going to be a moment in the fourth quarter where they need Darian Mensah to make a play, hit a tough throw, a receiver to win a matchup, something like that. So it still is going to come down to their passing games. And then as it is for anyone who plays Georgia Tech, it's like, can you limit the Haynes King effect of the fourth quarters here, and all of a sudden
He's just
Georgia
running
Tech
the ball
is treating him
18
like
straight
yeah,
times.
they're treating him like a running back, and he's getting 6 yards a carry, 6 yards a carry. It's 3rd and 4. They're running QB power like they don't care, like it's 3rd and 1 or 1st and 10, and they're getting it. Do you have the bodies on the defensive line to hold up against that?
Yeah, and Duke might. They're holding opponents under 4 yards a carry right now. That's 23rd in the country. But they are giving up almost 9 yards a pass. So it's kind of like the opposite of that Georgia Tech defense, where you think Georgia Tech has an advantage in that pass defense. That's one of Duke's weaknesses. Another wild stat is that even with that Illinois game where they had 5 turnovers, is that right? Something like that?
Yeah,
5,
something like
yes.
that, yeah.
They are still plus 1.2 in the turnover margin per game. So I guess outside of that game, they've been really good.
So +6 overall.
I'm not positive. I tried doing the math, and when I did it over 6, it wasn't the math was not mathing out right. The stat that I pulled from the college football database is 1.2 plus 1.2 a game.
Heard.
Yeah.
But if you do that if you do that times 6, it comes out to 7.2, which doesn't make sense.
No, it makes sense.
Anyway, and then on the other side of the ball, Georgia Tech kind of lets teams convert on 4th downs, 80%. But then they average 6 yards a rush. Their completion percentage is 70.9. So it's the same kind of stuff we saw last week from, I forget which game we were previewing, Missouri, where that high 3rd down conversion, high pass percentage, completion percentage, it's that stay on the field, grind you down. You have deep shots, but you're taking slants and out routes and middle of the field stuff. You're not trying to take the top off consistently. You're making the safe plays.
Well-
and that's the kind of thing that you can stay on the field and wear a defense is down, and it sets up that Haynes King fourth quarter 18 straight rush attempts, stuff like that.
Hopefully that goes better for them than it did for Missouri against Alabama.
Yeah.
Because that did not play out that way at all.
Nope.
But let's pick this game. I'm going to take Georgia Tech to go on the road and win this game and therefore cover. I do think Duke is improving, but it's just hard to get past losing 45-19 against Illinois, and then you lose by 7 to Tulane as well, who's a good team, but it's still just a thing of when they've played their biggest competition, it's not gone well for them. And so I do think they'll keep this game close, but I think Georgia Tech will get it done.
I'm going to pick this exact same way. I think GT gets done. Buzz. I think they are able to slow down Mensah and then run all over Duke. No crowd to really slow them down. Haynes King gets in the end zone 3 times. 3 rushing touchdowns for Haynes King. Georgia Tech wins.
A little hat trick. Sanders?
I was going to pick Duke, but I'm going to pick Georgia Tech. Another thing, I don't even think we mentioned, Georgia Tech's coming off a bye,
Sure.
so they've got that extra week of rest.
Haynes King will be healthy. This will be the last time he'll be healthy all season.
Yeah, probably. Is that their last bye, really? Yeah, it is. That's
Oh.
crazy. No, it's not. They have one in early November.
Gotcha. That makes more sense.
So yeah, I will also pick Georgia Tech, and also not letting y'all gain a game on me if I pick Duke and I was wrong. Yeah. Okay. Robbie Ashford, right? we did that whole video in our preview saying he was bad at our Auburn. He had a 40-something% completion percentage.
He hadn't completed 60% of his passes once.
And then that dude in our comments was like, y'all are wrong. He's going to complete 75% of his passes and do this and do that. Do you want to know his stat line for this season?
What?
He's under 60% completion.
Perfect.
He's got 1,100 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Let him cook.
Yeah, so may have to go respond to that guy on TikTok who told us that we didn't know what we were talking about and that Robbie Ashford was going to be a great quarterback this year.
I mean, he was just trying to rep his team and get optimistic. Tucker, I do have a question for you. Do you think Whitweek's cutting his hair was a Landry Kiffin decision?
I don't know. I was wondering the exact same thing. I feel like the joke is the question is, did he buzz it?
I've not seen it yet.
I don't know. Maybe Tucker could tell us. Let's see if we can find it, because that is, if he buzzed it, it definitely wasn't her decision, right? I feel like that's the classic.
You never know.
Whitweek's hair, not Whitweek's injury. I don't care. I don't know where he saw that. It's definitely not that photo. June 27th, 2025. This is not June. I don't know. I don't know how he cut it. Tucker, you'll have to let us know. I doubt that he buzzed it. And if he did buzz it, it definitely was not a Landry Kiffin thing. While we wait for him to respond, we want to go ahead and get into
let's
the
do
next
it.
game. Ole Miss at Georgia.
I'm going to just apologize in advance to any Ole Miss fan that has found this video. I'm flanked by Mississippi State fans. So you never know what's going to be said.
We definitely didn't know on Sunday.
Yeah, who would have any idea? Ole Miss, number 5 Ole Miss travels to Georgia, number 9 Georgia, to play at 2:30, where Georgia is favored by 7.5 in this matchup. What are y'all's thoughts on this game?
Georgia's going to win and cover. That's my first thought. I'll go ahead and tell you that much. But the key to this game is Georgia starting slow. In SEC play, in their 4 games already, they were down 21-7 to Tennessee after the first, down 14-0 after the first minute of the second quarter to Bama, up 10-0 against Kentucky, and down 10-0 late in the first half versus Auburn, and really could have been, not should have been, down 17-0 to Auburn in the first half. So if they start slow, this is going to be bad, because with how Lane Kiffin runs that offense and with how Trinidad has been playing, they are going to take full advantage of that, and they will try to punch first, and then they will have the capability to continue scoring or keep Georgia at reach. This just feels like it profiles as a classic, that this is the classic Georgia still Georgia kind of game. Last year's game, it was Texas when they went on the road and defeated Texas in a dominating fashion. And if it were not for one of the most egregious referee jobs in the history of this great sport, it would not have been even remotely close.
Sure.
I think this plays out the same way. Old Piss, is 96th in opponent rush yards per game this year. Georgia, even though they haven't been prolific in running the football, if they just lean on the run like they are capable of doing, and they have done in key moments, in the Tennessee game, they did that for 2 really extended drives for touchdowns. And then last week against Auburn, they were able to do that, especially in that second half, and really just control the game and control the time of possession. If they just rely on that and do that to start this game against the School Up North, I don't think this game gets really close whatsoever. I think they can just run these extended drives with their tailbacks, with Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens, and even Gunnar Stockton in the running game. I think it just profiles really well for Georgia. And then on the School Up North side is Trinidad's first road start in the SEC. He did not start the Kentucky game. Austin Simmons did. And how will he play in Sanford Stadium? How will he play in that environment as a true, his first road start in the SEC. He's a senior, so he's had plenty of experience playing football. but he hasn't played in Sanford Stadium, and that's not a easy environment to play in. Ty Simpson was able to kind of take advantage of it and played well, but that was also Simpson's second road start of the year. He had already kind of gone through.
It's also Ty Simpson. So.
He had already gone through the ringer at Florida State, and so I think he was a little bit more prepared for that game against Georgia. So I think this just really profiles towards a Georgia kind of game. And I'm going to go against the grain and take them to win and cover. I think a lot of people just think about last year's game and think that, these teams are now on equal footing. Me personally, I think of 2 years ago when they played in Sanford Stadium and Georgia dominated them on ABC as well.
Sure.
I don't think this game is like last year's game because I just don't think the level of quarterback play is there for the School of North. And obviously their defense is not as good as it was last year.
Yeah. My biggest point for Georgia was it's lean on Chauncey Bowens and Nate Frazier, because I'm starting to think, not completely. I'm not saying like they don't have the ability to pull it out, but the way they threw the ball in the Tennessee game was more of the outlier, and they're still just kind of a grounded pound team that is fairly limited in the passing game.
And everyone's doing that against Tennessee this year.
Yeah, correct. So you're going to need to lean on the running game. This Georgia defense, though, is just not what it typically is, especially as a pass rushing unit. They have 8 sacks in 6 games. Only 1 sack by a defensive lineman on the season. And I'm just worried I know it's his first road start, but if you let Trinidad Chambliss sit back there and have time to throw and scramble, and you let Lane Kiffin have time to, call what he wants, and, his play calls aren't getting blown up immediately by pressure, that they're going to be able to score a little bit in this game. I'm not saying they're going to, go drop 35 on Georgia. But the biggest thing I think in this game for me is who's going to get in the end zone and not settle for 3. It was a big issue for Ole Miss at the start of the Washington State game. Turnovers on downs. They miss a field goal. They have to kick another field goal. Both these teams are going to need to be able to finish drives. And I think the team that does that is going to win. Your thoughts on this game, Sanders?
Yeah, I think JP made a great point that people think that these teams are on even footing now. Maybe Georgia has taken a step back. They lost their first home game in like 30-something games to Alabama earlier this year. The sky is falling. I think that game just says a lot more about Alabama making the right adjustments after that week 1 loss to Florida State, and being a very different team than they were in week 1, and a lot less about Georgia. There are some concerns about Georgia, like Jack just said. The pass rush is a huge concern. And it's crazy that we're saying that, given Georgia and how prolific they've been in the pass rush, putting guys in the first round, 2nd overall on the D-line. They've got D tackles at Philadelphia. They've got Jalen Walker at Jacksonville. They just put another one in Atlanta. Like
Trayvon Walker and Jacksonville.
Trayvon Walker, thank you.
And then Jalen and
thank you, Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yeah, so they just have continued to pump out first-round picks. And people have now are overreacting to that loss to Alabama, I think. Georgia is still a better team. Like, Ole Miss is not on the same level as Alabama. Not right now. And so I think that thinking an upset is coming or being even concerned, I'm not super concerned. I do agree that this is kind of like, this might be Georgia's Florida State game where they get a chance to show why Kirby Smart is like a top 2 coach in college football right now, because he's going to have his guys bounce back after that loss. Did they have a bye week just now? I can never remember who's been on bye weeks.
No, they played at Auburn.
Thank you. Yes, the weird game.
Week.
Yeah, the stupid
And
game.
did not look very good.
It seems like a running story right now, at least in these SEC games, is one, obviously been, anyone can win any of these games. But 2, it seems that wherever the vibes and the desperation are, it seems to just lean to that team, and that team ends up winning these games. I think last week in the Red River Shootout, Texas is 3-3 if they lose. Oklahoma is undefeated. Mateer hasn't been practicing. Like they don't need to win this game. If they lose this game, they're not out of anything. Texas ends up winning. Think of the Texas-Florida game 2 weeks ago. Like Florida is fighting for Napier's job, and they need a win, and they get a big marquee win against Texas. This feels like it for Georgia and Old Piss. Old Piss is undefeated. They haven't lost an SEC game. They've already got 3 SEC wins, and they don't need to win this game really whatsoever to get where they want to get to this year. If they win it, it would help a ton. But if Georgia loses, that's 2 SEC losses. That's 2 SEC losses at home, meaning you got to win more on the road to get to where you want to be. It would kind of, it may not, but it would. These 2 losses to Bama and to Ole Miss would kind of knock them out of SEC championship possibilities. Like if they lost to Auburn and Kentucky, it's a different story because then they
Right.
could still have the head-to-heads.
Sure.
All that desperation seems like it feels like it leans towards Georgia, and I think because of that they were just going to come out ready to play, and the desperation is going to play more in their favor in this kind of game.
And it worked for in Alabama's favor a couple weeks ago. It almost worked in Auburn's favor potentially. Like I completely agree that desperation has played a huge part in a lot of the games this
And
year.
it worked for Tennessee. Tennessee came off the loss to Georgia, came here into Starkville, and they needed that win a lot more than we did at that point. They ended up winning.
Yeah.
You could probably pick an example out of every single one of them. That just seems like a storyline that is being added on top of the anybody can win any game in the SEC so far this year.
How many points is desperation worth in in the odds? I wonder.
I got no clue, but like this game it's really important, especially towards the standings. There are 10 teams in the SEC right now with 1 or less conference losses at this point at week 8 in the season. We've kind of just started SEC play for the most part, but every team has played at least 2 games, and this is just going to be another one of like 30 games we have left that just matter so much towards these SEC standings and who goes to Atlanta. And ultimately, whoever goes to Atlanta, that's 2 playoff spots right there for the most part. So I think because of that, it just helps Georgia so much. I think they get their 4th conference win, and I think they win and cover. I'm going to go against my own grain and pick them to cover 7.5 as well.
Sure. Sanders, what do you got?
I'm also going to pick them to cover 7.5 for some of the same stuff we were just talking about, the desperation, the fact that I do think that there's still a gap between Georgia and Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss has been closing that gap throughout the Lane Kiffin era, but I still think it's there.
Sure. I'm going to take Ole Miss to cover here. I'm honestly going to take them to win outright, though that doesn't matter. I think Lane Kiffin and his offense is going to go in there and get the job done against Georgia, and their defense is going to do enough to keep Georgia out of the end zone, and they'll win a close game, and this will kind of be Lane Kiffin's high that he has every season before they kind of crumble down the stretch. They'll lose a game down the stretch they're not supposed to. I think the Washington State game, they didn't lose it last week, but I think it was a wake-up call for them as a team, and they're going to go pull off a shocker in Athens. 'Cause I think that's what y'all are getting wrong is, like, people predicting Ole Miss to win this game. It's not me thinking that Ole Miss and Georgia are on the level playing field as, like, a program or, like, year to year as a thing, but upsets happen in college football. The spread's 7.5. It's not like, people are thinking that, these are level playing field teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I just think the matchup works out
I
here.
mean,
and
Arkansas is
going
gonna
to
beat A&M,
Exactly.
so-
Arkansas is going to beat A&M.
We're going to beat Florida.
Y'all aren't going to beat Florida, but y'all will cover. So that's got to count for something. But, yeah, I'm going to take Ole Miss to win this game, and I don't really like doing that. But I don't really like the vibes around the Georgia team this year, to be honest.
You're just doing your part to be sure that we can keep our Ole Miss audience if we have one.
I think they clicked off the video as soon as it got referred to as Old Piss.
So it looks like, at least at this point, Sanders and I are going to join you tied for the lead.
Looks like it. I think we'll pass them.
We got a good chance to pass them.
I think going forward, and we may not want to do it because it's like halfway through the season. We should be able to do like one upset pick for like bonus points.
Well, then I already want my bonus points because I picked Indiana.
Because like
so.
I do think it's just like, yeah, well, like so did I, but I did it in the it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so I'm
sure.
gonna say this. I think.
So I deserve the bonus points.
Well, I'm saying we should do it going forward.
I think we should have maybe a counter of how many of those kinds of things. Like we straight up pick the upset,
Yeah.
and maybe that's just a running number.
Sure.
But then there's no like punishment I don't know. Maybe there is a
There's
punishment.
no legitimate punishment for getting the spreads wrong either.
No,
you
but
do
like,
lose a point that doesn't count for anything.
yeah, I don't know
But
if we want to have like a separate like if we want to do it like y'all do for winter festivities board where it's you pick the spread.
I do
and
not
the
want to
winner.
do that.
Well, no, you could still get the points, but it would be like separate standings. Like here's how you are against the spread. Here's how you are outright.
Sure.
I don't know.
Well, let's get to these last 3 games. Why don't we?
Yes, let's do it, and then we can start the NFL, and then we can do the best bets, and then we'll be done. What game is that? Tennessee,
Yes,
Alabama.
It's Tennessee at Alabama. The number 11 Tennessee Volunteers travel to number 6 Alabama. Yet again, Alabama has a big game. It's week after week after week at this point. That's the nature of playing the SEC and getting one of the tougher draws in the SEC especially. But it's another huge opportunity for Alabama to keep the ball rolling, and it's a win that it kind of feels like Tennessee really needs. After losing to Georgia and losing to Alabama, it kind of seems like it cements you as like not in the top tier of the SEC this season. But what are your thoughts on this game?
I'm gonna give you 3 trends.
Please do.
Actually, 4 trends.
Even better.
Tennessee has not won in Tuscaloosa since 2003.
Perfect.
Kalen DeBoer has not lost at home since November 6th of 2021 to Boise State. It is one of his only 2 home losses ever as an FBS head coach.
At that time, was he the head coach of Fresno
State.
Yep.
The other was October 24th, 2020, the COVID year at Fresno State against who? A Mountain West school.
UNLV.
No.
Air Force.
No. Jack, you got a guess?
Sorry, I was trying to figure out if Kalen DeBoer is wearing a black hoodie this weekend.
We-
That's
Um,
a good
that
question.
probably won't be known.
but it's a
until-
Mountain West team. Utah State.
Hawaii
Wow.
Wow.
in the COVID year. Hawaii and Boise State are Kalen DeBoer's 2 ever home losses as an FBS head coach. Of course, neither of those have happened in almost 4 years now. Tennessee defensively has been really bad this year. They've been outscoring teams. They've been winning games. They're in the 120s in pass defense. Alabama has the 12th best pass offense, another trend that leans towards the Tide. And Tennessee in their 3 SEC games, 44 to Georgia, as in they gave up 44. They've given up 34 to State, and they gave up 31 last week to Arkansas. We've kind of talked about like how those are not necessarily offenses you can trust already today. With Georgia, with Arkansas and Taylor Green and their turnovers, and of course State with their lack of pass protection. Tennessee does lead the SEC in sacks, so they've got to show up like that. But there's 4 trends that lean towards the Tide this weekend already.
Yeah, Tucker, I don't know if those are trends or just facts. Depending on who you
Observations,
ask.
yeah.
Observations. But that is pretty funny. I think it's a great point. And it's once again, it's a thing of like the country has kind of fallen in love with Ty Simpson. And that's him playing against pretty tough defenses, or defense we at least feel better about than this Tennessee defense, especially the passing defense. Y'all watched State have good success against them in the pass game, but then also on the ground in Davis Wade. Georgia threw the ball really well on them. So I feel like there's not really much reason to expect Ty Simpson not to spin the ball well this weekend. The path, as we've said time and time again, every time we do an Alabama preview, to keep Ty Simpson from spinning the ball well, is you have to get pressure on him and consistent pressure, because he's actually performing pretty well under pressure at times. He can move well in the pocket. He's not the biggest runner in terms of scrambling, but he moves well in the pocket, so you're going to have to find a way to get after him. And this is just a prediction for me, kind of a read. But this feels like a special teams impact kind of game. Someone misses a big field goal. Someone returns a kick for a touchdown or a punt for a touchdown or blocks a field goal. It just has that kind of air about it to me this weekend. So that's what I'm looking for.
I feel like that's how it's been in recent times. At least it was the year Tennessee beat, or one of the years Tennessee beat Alabama in Knoxville. They had that weird late field goal, wobbly but goes through. Was that the first time? So 2022?
It was the first time.
2022?
Against Bryce Young.
Yeah.
He kicked a duck.
Yeah.
It was not blocked. He kicked a duck, and it still went through from 44 yards.
He got lucky.
Yeah. So
Sometimes you rather be lucky than good. But you're right. Like I'm not pulling it out of thin air.
Yeah.
Another thing to note: Jem Miller's questionable. He went down towards the end of the Vandy game, the Missouri game, not the Vandy game. Getting my weeks mixed up. So does he play? Because we've seen the run game be a lot more successful and bring balance to this offense when he's there. So that's really something to look for as well. I'm also, for Tennessee, I think you're going to need Joey Aguilar to take care of the football. He's actually thrown a good amount of picks. So if you look at PFF, he doesn't have very many turnover-worthy plays. So whether you're a PFF hater or PFF believer, you're going to put stock in that or not put stock into that. But this Alabama secondary is playing well of late. We talked about Dijon Lee on Sunday. He keeps coming along. And so it's a thing of, can he protect the football when throwing downfield? Or are they going to just play into Bama's weakness and just run the ball a lot and have great success there? I don't know. For Bama, I think the route to success here, and I'm kind of rambling, but let Ty Simpson do his thing. Defense, you just got to tread water and find some stops and not just get gashed and give up explosive play after explosive play. Just provide some resistance and let Ty Simpson and the offense do its thing, and I think you can walk out with a win here at home. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Y'all's thoughts, before as we wrap this up?
yeah, I think that you said the Tennessee defense just needs to find some stops. Is that what you were just saying?
No, the Alabama
defense.
Mhm.
Okay, I thought you were saying Tennessee, which I was
No.
going to say I don't expect them to be able to do that. Like you pointed out,
Sure.
they've struggled this year, giving up like they're outside of the hundreds in opponent points per game and opponent yards per game. That's nearing like Mississippi State territory last year. We were 135th, so like out of 136 FBS teams, if you're in the hundreds, it's not great. They're definitely that was I didn't mean to throw that much shade at Tennessee's defense. They are not
They
that
suck.
bad.
It is funny, though, because, as soon as we were like, wow, Tennessee actually got this good defense, the pendulum has swung on a
Yeah.
Josh Heupel Tennessee team.
Yeah,
We're all the way back.
And I saw someone tweet that if you put last year's defense with this year's offense, it could be crazy. And it's really unfortunate that those two ships passed in the dark.
Sure.
Not that I want to see Tennessee have that kind of success, but it would have been a really good football team and a really fun team to watch.
Yeah, I'm personally very happy it didn't happen.
Yes, as someone who loves really good football, though, that would have been a darn good
Sure,
football team.
Sure.
That being said,
And so you love Alabama, of course.
no.
Well, one of the three of us, and I won't name names, but has said Roll Tide.
Okay.
So that
I'll tell it. Am I going to have to tell the story every time?
unironically,
Do I have to
too.
tell the story
Not
every
like-
time?
you
we
don't have
feature?
Not
to.
ironically.
you don't have to.
Unironically.
All right, I'll tell the
Yes.
story again.
You don't have to tell the story.
Well, if y'all are going to make fun of me for it, we have new viewers here who need to know.
Refer to the Alabama-Georgia preview for context on what we're
I'll
talking
do it in
about.
I'll do it in 15, 30 seconds. I was dating a girl, huge Alabama fan. Her parents had season tickets. Last year, while we were dating, she said, "Hey, do you want to come to the Georgia game?" Me being like, "Heck yeah, that's crazy. Alabama, Georgia, it's a huge matchup." Alabama was they were not to number 1. They proceeded to be number 1 after beating Georgia. I went with them. Her father's 6'6", 300 pounds, and is like, "Say Roll Tide. What? Say Roll Tide. Come on." And I'm like, "Yes, sir." So I said Roll Tide. And I think the reason that they wanted me to say it is because they could tell I was enjoying the Georgia comeback. Because in my heart of hearts, I wanted Georgia to win. And so they could tell that I was not an Alabama fan, even in my Alabama t-shirt, my Alabama polo, trying to pretend to be one. And so they encouraged me to say Roll Tide. And
You
because
folded like a cheap suit.
I did fold like a cheap suit.
You should start barking.
I think I would have been thrown out of the nosebleed where we were sitting.
Yeah,
So
that's
Go
fair.
Dogs, sick 'em.
Anyway, I'm going to pick Alabama to cover here because I don't think Tennessee's defense is going to be able to get the stops they need.
Yeah, I'm also going to pick Alabama to cover here. Just keep doing what you're doing, Alabama. The game plan for y'all to win games is pretty clear at this point, and I know we're going against the betting logic we've talked about here, but I just feel confident enough in Alabama to get this win and cover that even though it's 7.5, I'll take them to cover.
I'm taking Tennessee to cover.
Okay.
I'm going to not go against my trend and take them to cover 7.5.
Well, yeah, you are the semi-professional gambler here, so it makes sense that you're going to be the one to
Correct.
hold true to trends.
And while that is not
After
shown,
breaking the trend last game.
yes, but
Well, that's hate.
that
There's
was-
hate
yeah.
there.
Okay.
I had really good reason for that. While I have not been the greatest bettor publicly on this show, I am doing wonderful this year privately, and I'm going to take Tennessee to cover that 7.5 points. But I fully expect Bama to win, and and I would pick them to win. Like I said, the trends just lean that way. The only one that like doesn't is just the fact that Tennessee hasn't won in Tuscaloosa since 2003, and those, as I've talked about in the past, are one of those trends that maybe you want to lean away from, because that means, oh well, eventually they will.
It's got to happen at some point.
I'm not gonna go out on a limb and say they will. As good as I have been at doing that this year, I'll take Bama to win, but Tennessee to cover.
Sure.
And with that, of course, I'll take the lead over everybody in the betting department for picking the spread this year.
We'll see about that. Shall we move on?
Yeah, Tucker just made a great point that the funniest parts of me saying Roll Tide is my compulsive need to defend my actions every single time, and the second funniest part is how much Roll Tide is said every time it comes up. But that doesn't count. It's like the same as like as if you're saying it in a sentence. You're not saying it.
Yeah, but I don't have to say Ole Miss all the time. I can say
The school up north.
Yeah, but like
It's like
piss.
instead of saying a slur, you
Yeah.
just call it like, by the first letter or something like that.
yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'm saying.
you could
It's like
you could say RTR.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm saying that in our conversation here, I was defending like y'all both have said Roll Tide in the last 5
Sure.
minutes, but it doesn't count. That was what I was saying.
It doesn't count in the same way, but it's like people don't say Lord Voldemort. It's like he shall not be named. There's ways to circumvent saying something you don't want to say, and we don't really do that.
Yeah.
So
Maybe we should.
if we really didn't want to say it,
We're
we could
saying
find
it
something else to
ironically
say.
too, which
That's-
was I
yeah.
made that point.
Y'all
Correct.
you weren't saying ironically. You were informationally. You said it informationally.
No, it was a joke, so it was ironic.
Oh. But no, if you said Sanders said Roll Tide, then that's not ironic. That's informational,
Yes,
informative.
That is quotes.
Yeah,
which
which is acceptable.
no, yes, I would argue it is completely acceptable for you to say whatever someone else said
Yeah.
because it's what they said, so that's in quotes.
Yeah.
I use that logic all the time.
How? Never mind.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But let's
Yeah.
move on to a non-conference game that has big impact. Number 20 USC travels to number 13 Notre Dame. Another cross-country trip. I know Lincoln Riley is fuming right now while sipping his matcha or chai tea, whatever he drinks. But it's a huge matchup. Notre Dame can't afford to lose another game at this point. If USC loses this game, that gives them a second loss. Also not really a spot they want to be in, though they could still find their way in to the playoffs. But what are y'all's thoughts on this game?
What's up, Whitehead? Welcome in. The trend continues for these West Coast teams that travel east. It's been specific for USC. In the last 3 years, they are 2-5 when having to travel at least one time zone east, and a lot of these have been 2 and some even 3. 2023, first year of Lincoln Riley, they lost at Notre Dame 48-20. They did beat first year head coach Deion Sanders in Colorado 48-41, but that was technically a conference game, and that was Mountain Time, so it's not really that big of a travel. Last year in 2024, loss at Michigan 27-24, one score game. Loss at Minnesota 24-17, one score game. Loss at Maryland 29-28, one score game. This year, they've already gotten their win, winning at Purdue 33-17 in a game that they did not cover the spread, and a loss 2 weeks ago in Champaign. They were in Champaign 34-32 against Illinois and the Fighting Illini. So spread 9.5, and they will travel to Notre Dame, the Illinois game, one score game. All of those trends to potentially bet USC to win but not cover.
Notre Dame to win but not cover, right?
Yep.
Yes, USC to
Cover.
lose and cover.
Yep.
Lose but cover. For me, I think USC, like, their question is, can Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane have the Mario Craver and KC Concepcion game? Also, like, something that I noticed, and one of y'all clearly noticed, is the Notre Dame defense turned it around. Just 27 points allowed the last 3 weeks after kind of getting torn apart by Miami and Texas A&M. I think Jade Mayava is going to be up to the test regardless of how this game kind of goes. And if this indeed does go the way of a shootout, I think USC has a tremendous advantage. Not an advantage. They have will have a great ability to keep with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get blown out. Because Mayava can make all the throws he needs to make. He throws really well with touch. Just go watch his throw to end the second half against Michigan last week. That throw was ridiculous to Makai Lemon with 3 guys around him. He throws, like I said, touch really well. Ball placement is really good. And he made 2 throws in that 2-minute drive that kind of turned that Michigan USC game right before half, where it could have been just 7-7 going to half. Instead, they're up 7. He also has really solid play fakes in terms of like handing the ball off like he's actually handed the ball off, but he does a really good job at faking like he still has it. And because of that, it's helped them a ton in the run game. King Miller was really explosive last week. I think he ran for like 150 yards. Plus, if he can find explosive runs like he did last week, again, they can keep scoring with Notre Dame. I think the biggest problem just lies on the USC defense. I don't know how much they can slow down CJ Carr. They do a really good job, USC, at getting to the passer. But outside of that, they are not necessarily an excellent defense. And the thing that Notre Dame has is they can throw the ball really well with CJ Carr and Jordan Faison, Malachi Fields, Jaden Greathouse. And that doesn't even mention their 2 running backs, and Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. So they have the advantage there. I think this game profiles completely almost identical to that Texas A&M and Notre Dame game,
100%.
which is why the total is at 61.5, and I would go ahead and take the over on that. I think this game has fireworks, but in a game that has fireworks, that's another trend that leans towards USC covering a full spread of 9.5.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything you said, and I just want to go back to talking about the defensive improvements, and that's what I'm looking for the most in this game in terms of Notre Dame. I've been someone that hasn't really wavered in my belief of this Notre Dame team. Even after their 2 losses, I still had them ranked at 0-2, just because I think this is a really good team, because at least the offense is fantastic. But now I'm just curious, is the defense, has it really turned it around? And you're averaging up, 10-ish points, a little under 10 points the past couple weeks. You're not going to do that against this USC team. That's obviously not what I'm looking for. But just, do you have the ability to just not hemorrhage points? Can you get some stops? Can you make some plays? Can you cover somebody? Because going back to the Casey Conception and Mario Craver game, it's not like A&M did anything really crazy fancy. I mean, we had a couple of nice play calls, but they just kind of let people run free in their zone all night. So can you not do that? Because Makai Lemon will just, and Mayava, they'll tear you up if you let them do that. So that's my biggest thing I'm watching for in this game. Anything you want to add, Sanders, before we pick?
Nope.
Cool. Well, Notre Dame's favored by 9.5. JP's already said what he's doing. He's taking USC to cover. I'm also going to take USC to cover, while feeling pretty confident that Notre Dame wins this game. But I'm going to take USC to cover.
USC's going to win.
All right.
I'm going to go out on a limb and
You're not following your trends.
take them to win. I'm going to go against my trend as well. I just have a good feeling about Jaden Mayava in this offense. I have a bad feeling about how CJ Carr protects the football in this game. I think USC gets a few plays there, and I have faith in Lincoln Riley to eventually get over this
I would never have faith in a
Yeah.
coach named Lincoln Riley. But
losing
you do you.
this kind of game every single time.
That's a good backhanded compliment to give him. I'll allow that.
Yes.
Wait. You said you have faith in him to get over losing this kind of game every single time.
Correct.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a
Okay.
while.
That is exactly what I'm saying. So I'm not saying that I have full faith in Lincoln Riley, but I have faith that he's a good enough coach
That
to
eventually he's going to
eventually
stumble into one.
win one of
sure.
these kinds of games. Now this is one of the higher profile games, and I probably should
It's a-
pick them
it's
to
a
beat
big-
like Northwestern
it's
or
a big
Purdue.
About to say Michigan might have been his winning getting.
No,
No, that's
that
at home.
game.
That was at home.
That game was profiled completely for them to be at a tremendous advantage.
He's what's the squirrel rat thing in Ice Age?
Scrat? Is that his name?
Scrat. That is his name.
He's Scrat this weekend.
Yeah, I think he gets it done, and I think the Trojans go in and shock Notre Dame. I think Marcus Freeman is distracted. I'm making all this up with the Penn State job. I think that plays a tremendous factor.
If they lose this, the unfounded rumors definitely ratchet up in terms of the Penn
Agreed.
State job.
Well, with Signetti,
Emphasis on unfounded, and
yeah,
with the Signetti
Signetti's
news.
off the board
Yeah.
now. Matt Rule came out and said that he loved Nebraska and wasn't going to leave, which that doesn't matter. But
Look, can he say that when the offer is right on his
right,
on his
I have to
desk?
say we have heard that from one of our head coaches before, a couple weeks before he
and
left.
Mullen's
So,
doing the same thing again
I-
already.
I mean, you can love somewhere and still leave it.
yeah,
So
Yeah, I think USC just. I think they win this game. I just have that feeling right now. I think that is the other big upset of the weekend, and they can kind of get rolling. And now they really get into conversations about Big Ten championship, which will be hard for them to get into, given Indiana, Ohio State's schedule down the road. But eventually, I just think this team with this head coach is there's just too much there for them to not eventually make the playoff, and they need to win this game. I think to make the playoff,
sure.
and I think they will win this game. So give me the Trojans to win and cover, of course, in what is potentially one of the last times they play this game for a long while, which is
Yeah.
a damn shame.
Sure. What do you got, Sanders?
Oh, USC. Picking USC to cover. Sorry, I forgot where we were, and I was already thinking about the next game or something else. Yeah, I'll take USC to cover this game.
All right.
Would you take $12 million to leave the place you love?
Well, it depends on...
I'd take $12 million to go to a place I hate.
But, like, if you're already... I don't know what... like, whatever coach we're talking about in that situation, if it's Rule, if he's getting paid $10.5 at Nebraska, like... Would I take $1.5 million to leave a place I love when that's only like a 10% increase of what I'm getting paid?
That
Probably
wasn't
not.
the question.
Yes. Would I take $12 million to leave a place I love? Yes.
Would you take $12 million to say Roll Tide?
Yes. I don't. Yeah, I'm not like yes.
Unbelievable.
That okay? We're gonna pretend that you wouldn't.
You heard it here first, folks.
JP, would you take $12 million to say Roll Tide?
Would you say Hook 'em Jack for $12 million?
Do
I'll find another way to make my money.
that's
I'm
it.
I'm
You
gonna be
that
honest.
y'all are just lying through your teeth. That is crazy.
I don't know.
I think I could.
You have Jack $12 million. Do you understand how much money that is?
That's a lot of money. I have like this, like knot in my throat now, just thinking about trying to say it.
$12 million.
I'll find another way to make my money. Crypto's the thing. I've heard it's doing well right now.
Oh my god.
I'm a big believer in that money will find you when you need it.
It found you. Someone just offered you $12 million to say Roll Tide, and
No. This is one of those. I also am a big believer in some things are too good to be true,
Yes,
and I think there's some bad karma with taking that $12 million and saying something that
I'll
you
get
don't
run
wanna
over by
say.
a bus the next day or something.
Yes.
y'all are crazy.
So
That's
really,
in-
I'm saving my life. I agree with that philosophy, JP.
I cannot with y'all. That's insane.
Well-
Who'd you pick for the game?
USC.
Okay.
You picked USC.
Yeah, I picked USC.
Let's get on-
And I think I had thoughts to say about it,
Boo.
and I don't even remember what I
Well,
was gonna say.
Let's get on to
Y'all with your
our final
would it
college
take
preview.
12 million. That's just insane. $12 million. Y'all said no. There you go.
Speaking
Utah
of
BYU.
faith,
The Holy War, which some people do not like that name.
I've got a full history on it. If you want to
Oh.
swing it to me here in a second.
Yeah, I'll swing it to you after I get through this opening. The Holy War, Utah versus BYU. Both teams are ranked. It is at BYU, but Utah is favored by 3.5. And now I'm going to allow JP to take us on a little history lesson on why it is called the Holy War.
So the Holy War is called the Holy War because BYU is owned and administered by the Church of Latter-day Saints, LDS, and Utah is the complete opposite. They're a very public, secular university. They're very left-winged versus BYU's right-winged. This is kind of one of those games that profiles like a presidential election in that manner. So that is why it's called the Holy War. This event is part of a three-way rivalry, which includes Utah State, Go Aggies. They would play for the Beehive Boot. That is what they play for, the winner of the series. The series has been played 102 times, and it's been played every year since 1922, and has only been interrupted 3 times ever. 1993 through 1943 through 1945 for what, guys?
What was the question?
What happened in 1943 through 1945?
World War II.
World War II. BYU
Good work.
did not field the team that year, but Utah did. Make of that which you would like. And then in 2014-2015, Utah scheduled a home-and-home with Michigan, and because of that, they didn't play BYU. And it happened again in 2022 and 2023 when Utah scheduled a home-and-home with Florida. However, in 2015, the teams met in the postseason in the 2015 Las Vegas Bowl, which was called the Holy War in Sin City because it was played in Las Vegas.
Fire.
Utah leads the series 62-36 with 4 ties per Utah. But per BYU, Utah leads the series 59-33 with 4 ties. This is because there's a discrepancy on when the series started. Utah believes it started in 1892, and BYU believes that it started in 1922,
Interesting.
and that it was played 16 times prior to 1922, but not every year. I don't know. That was hard to kind of
Wait,
understand.
so they disagree about when the rivalry started?
Correct.
That's like my mom and dad disagree on when they started dating by like 6 months.
Except this is 30 years.
I'm going to have to give your mom also just a automatic correct about that one. Because the latter party just like has to be right in that sense.
The person
Not to get
who-
off top.
Yeah.
Because if both people don't think they were dating, I'm sorry, I don't think y'all were dating.
Yes.
Agreed.
Continue.
Now, tickets are as low as $346.
Wow.
As low as?
As low as $346.
Bet.
That's good marketing right there.
Meaning you could get into the Duke Georgia Tech game 10 times. Actually, more than that, 11 times before you could get into this game and sit in the nosebleeds. You could probably get a sideline pass for less money than this, probably 2.
Yeah,
For
honestly.
you and your partner. So this is a huge game. Last year, of course, this was played in Utah. BYU won in kind of a controversial manner. And Jake Retzloff led a huge drive to keep BYU undefeated. It was again played as a night game and did not end until I think it was 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big noon kickoff. The crew, Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson, will be on the call, which is electric.
For sure.
And this is going to be also a great uniform battle as well. Utah is going to be wearing all red. BYU is going to be wearing all white at home. And it was a great clash last year with the red on blue. And we'll get to see the red on white this year. I'm pretty sure it's white. But that's the history of the Holy War. We are now expected this to continue forever now that they're in the same conference.
Yeah.
Barring another huge expansion in college football again.
Which will happen. So we've got it for now.
Correct. On to the game itself.
Cherish it while you can. Yeah. On to the game itself. Just off rip, my biggest thing is what does BYU look like in easily their hardest test of the season? Arguably their hardest game so far has been at Colorado. And they've won all their games, so props to them. And Bear Bachmeier has played pretty well considering he's a freshman and the transfer situation, he transfers in late. And then Retzloff gets kicked off the team, so then suddenly he's the starter. So, what kind of game does he have against the best defense he's played is just a huge question for me on the BYU front.
Yeah, Bachmeier's been solid. He made a couple throws last week. There was one to Parker Kingston that was chef's kiss. It was just beautiful for a touchdown in the first half. And then on the other side, quarterback-wise, Devon Dampier was not good against Texas Tech, but he found his stride the last 2 weeks. 21 for 26 for 237, 5 total touchdowns and a pick versus West Virginia on the road, and then 7 for 12 last week, which is finding your stride, yes, for 104 yards, but he ran 10 times for 120 and had 3 total touchdowns against Arizona State. So he's kind of refound himself post that Texas Tech game. The Texas Tech defense is wildly different than the BYU defense. I don't expect that to be the same. I think the only thing that matters for Dampier will be how he plays in this environment. Another thing to note, BYU ran a fake punt last week on 4th and 9, snapped it to the punter. The punter just kept it and ran. He was stopped 2 yards short because a BYU player was blocking an Arizona player, and somehow the Arizona player turned the other way, and so the BYU player is blocking the wrong direction, and the Arizona player's legs got in the way of the punter, and he tripped over the legs and fell 2 yards short.
Brutal.
He had the first down with ease on 4th and 9 too. Punter running basically 25 yards to pick up a first down. So don't expect a BYU fake punt this week.
Noted.
Which is something you would expect on the road, or not on the road, at home, for a team that is playing in a big game against Utah. But those are the two ones. Bachmeier and Dampier are huge in this game. I think Utah running game with their defense, I expect to travel and I expect to play well. If they can just control the clock, control the crowd, because I fully expect it to be very difficult. It was last year for Retzlaff.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
at Utah.
rivalry game. You got to expect big things from the crowd.
I'm also interested to see how Bear Bachmeier and the number 47 looks on primetime national television. I think that aura plays a factor in that. If he's got that, then maybe BYU has a chance because, like you said, this is their biggest test of the season. And are they fraudulent BYU again? I think it's a huge question, and they have as good of a chance as any to prove that they're not this weekend against Utah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I just love the way this game profiles for Utah. I think you're going to be able to run the ball with good success. I think you're going to be able to get after Bear Bachmeier a little bit. And even if he has a fine game, he's a freshman, his first really big test. If you can get after him and force him to make a couple risky throws, he's going to make a couple bad decisions and then just capitalize on it. Catch the pick. Don't let it hit your hands and then drop, or maybe get a strip sack, something like that. Utah is the more experienced. I think their defense is better. Their run game's better. Bear Bachmeier has a very promising future ahead of him. Right now, I'd prefer to have Dampier on my team. So I'll say right now, I'm going to take Utah to cover the 3.5.
I'll also take Utah. BYU beats Colorado by 3. They beat Arizona by 6. I think that if we did a technical foul stock market pre the kickoff 7 p.m. and buy or sell BYU as a fraudulent 6-0 team, I'd buy. I think that's a pretty real concern, and I had them winning I think 8 or 9 games in the preseason.
Good save.
Yeah, just against their schedule. But I'm gonna have to go with Utah winning and covering.
Sure.
What was the save? What did I save?
I can't mention it because if I said it, then I'd be saying it.
Oh yeah, Schubert. I didn't do it intentionally. I just don't think about it. JP, who are you picking?
Well, when you don't think about it, you've said it. I like this as another upset.
Wow.
I think BYU wins at home and wins their now 3rd straight victory over Utah. So give me the Cougars and the Church of Latter-day Saints. Give me Jesus Christ over the left of Utah and the Utah Utes. Give me BYU and Bear Bachmeier. Like, all of those things. If BYU wins, it's just going to feel good. They can be frauds later down the road, and they may still be. But we already saw Utah in their biggest kind of test of the season kind of fail straight up. Now, Texas Tech, I believe, is 10 times better than BYU. But I think the home crowd plays a factor, and I think being on the road, night game, all of that emotion. I think BYU and Kalani Sitake are up to the test, and the Cougars get a win on Fox with Gus Johnson saying something really cool about Bear Bachmeyer. Well, there's going to be a quote for that at some point
100%.
with Bear, and I'm really excited to see what that'll be. But give me the Cougars. I'm also picking that because y'all two picked Utah, and I want that advantage. So
That's
That's-
a
yeah.
bold just giving us a point, so I appreciate it.
And again, it's another one of those trends. 3.5 for an underdog. I'm taking the 3.5 all day because there's just more scenarios where Utah wins by only 3 points than 4.
All right. Well,
Cool. Real quick. The $12 million when you say Roll Tide or hook 'em, you could just give it to you're defending your team. You could just give it to their NIL. You could buy the player that lets you beat Texas
I'll find
or lets
another
you beat
way to
Alabama.
make
That's
money
worse,
and give
Mojo.
to the IL.
How is that worse,
NIL.
Mojo?
It's
'Cause
cursed money.
We're gonna, it's cursed money on our own team.
No, it's not, because it's like,
No, it is.
but like when in the SEC when a team storms the field, they get $500,000. Is that cursed money?
No, that's like a little parting gift. Like, thanks for the win. Here's your compensation.
That's not. No. I don't think that's cursed money. No, because they lost the game. Like that's different. Like State has lost the Egg Ball.
Yeah.
10 times over.
Only 10.
But me saying their phrase is that's bad mojo. That's just bad. I don't understand how you don't think that's bad mojo.
I don't think that it matters. I don't think
Clearly, because you like saying Roll Tide.
for $12 million, I would say I'd say Roll
Would you
Tide.
say, was it Hottie Toddy for 12 mil?
Yeah.
All right.
That's insane.
Yes, I would say that.
You don't. I just don't think you need money like that.
I don't.
Everyone wants
Do
money.
you understand how much money $12 million?
But we have
is?
to also remember, like, if we just printed money, the value of money decreases.
Yeah, I'm hurting everyone.
That's
if
why.
I
that's
just get a random
okay.
12
Okay,
mil.
hold up. The money comes out of your opponent's NIL, and then you can.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm really actually helping myself because I'm making it easier to be saved by our Lord Jesus Christ.
Tucker, why did you have to ask this? We have disagreed about a lot, and I've been not frustrated. Like I'm not actually frustrated, and I don't get frustrated with him. But this is like the closest where I'm just like, y'all are just being. This is absurd. This is absurd.
I think it's absurd that you expect us to say hook 'em and for me to say what Jack had previously said.
the words that shall not be named. It's 2 words. Tucker. I mean, he said he would move to Wuhan, China for $12 million.
I'd rather do that.
So I'm not going to ask him
I'm
if he'd say
sure-
War Eagle because I kind of assumed that he would.
Weagle. I would say Weagle. I like Auburn.
Well, that's easy. Like
I'll say Weagle for 12 million.
I'd also do that pretty easily, I think. But yeah, I really am just. I'm looking out for my best interests on that. But shall we pivot to the NFL? At the 2 hour and 12-minute mark, shall we pivot?
sure, let's do it. Why not?
We don't have to. We can find something else to talk about.
No,
can
it's
talk about
fine.
how,
we got Sunday night
I mean,
football.
Oh,
Like
U's
this
going.
Cocktober,
U's going down
yeah.
in Williams Bryce
Do
this
we?
weekend.
Sorry,
by
I was
the way,
gonna ask. Do we want to throw out like quick picks for that game and
We
then
should pick
also
every other game.
no the Missouri Auburn game?
I
Look.
appreciate that. See, they're 3-1.
Wow. Tucker said he would move, but he would not say War Eagle. Interesting. Y'all just care too much. Like I care a lot.
We could just pick every game for the weekend.
This
well, we missed some already. Unfortunately, Sam Houston UTEP already happened.
True.
Yeah.
What a great showing from Sam
Delaware,
Houston, their crowd.
Jacksonville State
Yep.
already happened.
Bowl eligibility looking like it's gonna be a struggle for the.
I think
know
it's already
they're-
an impossibility for Sam Houston
The
State.
Blue Hens.
Blue Hens. Thank you.
Yeah.
They're 3-3 now. I think.
Sadly.
Okay. Let's just get into the NFL.
Let's do it.
My team. Start us off, Jack.
The Colts go to the Chargers, and yet another chance to prove that the early season success is not a fluke, based on, playing some weaker teams. I don't believe that. I promise, Colts fans. But nevertheless, they go to play in SoFi Stadium against the Chargers, who are pretty beat up right now, but did pull out a big win last week, thanks to Justin Herbert and Ladd McConkey. The Chargers are favored at home by 1.5. Sanders, what are your thoughts on this game as the resident Chargers fan?
First of all, I'd like to say that I got called out for being a fake Chargers fan on Tuesday's show because I guessed the spread to be like Colts by like 3.5. I'm pretty sure that y'all said it was at the Colts. I'd have to go back and watch, but I was making that guess under the
Well, then it's more fake fan to you that you didn't know the Chargers were at home this week.
But when I said, is it at Indianapolis, and one of y'all goes, yes, I'm going to assume that because you confirmed it that it is in Indianapolis. So that's why I made that pick. I was mistaken.
I can neither confirm or deny. I confirmed or denied that it was at Indianapolis. So
Yeah, way to cover your butt there. Kamani Vidal had a great week last week
against the Dolphins.
Against the Dolphins.
I
don't
would have a
really
great week
expect
against the
that, but I
Dolphins.
don't expect that to happen again this week. I know he's been a waiver wire addition. I know JP has added him via waiver wires. So
Why wouldn't you?
why would you not? I don't expect the same kind of performance.
I don't need the same kind of performance.
you just need a little something.
Yeah.
That to say, the Colts have been really hot, which is why I thought they would be favored. And they would be favored on a neutral site right now because in the NFL it's what, 2.5? 1.5.
2.5.
So they would be favored neutral site right now. The defense against the defense has looked really good for the first part of the season, and then it has kind of fallen apart over the last couple games, not looking as great, especially against the Commanders. I didn't get to watch the Commanders game, but from what I heard, it was a big struggle. JP going so far as to say that the Chargers are just really bad or bad. That was one of. I thought it was funny that
It was a really bad performance.
It was
Yeah.
it was a bad showing.
There's a reason they're on, tier 5 of the pyramid.
something like that. Yeah, they are lower down for sure.
Colts are higher than them.
I just don't know. The Colts still feel like a weird team, kind of like we were just talking about BYU. The Colts, the teams they've played thus far, they beat the Dolphins, they beat the Broncos in a very close game, and the Broncos have not looked good this season. They beat the Titans, they lose to the Rams, and then beat the Raiders and Cardinals. So they're 5-1, kind of being held up by a bad schedule through 6 games. And they have looked dominant in some of those wins. Daniel Jones has looked good, and that it's been Jonathan Taylor has looked really good as well.
It's not really some of their wins. It's really all of their wins.
Yeah. Other than the Broncos when they won by 1.
They still scored 29 points against that defense.
Yeah. So I guess offensively they've looked dominant.
Yeah, and I mean Jonathan Taylor's leading the league in rushing.
Yeah.
And that's honestly been the Chargers' strong suit defensively these past couple weeks in
Nope.
terms of Achane popped y'all for a couple, which I mean
he does that to almost everybody.
Yeah, but then Bill Krosky Merritt gets you all the business and then turns around and can't run against
Yeah.
the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried personally for what Jonathan Taylor may do
I am also
in Los
worried.
Angeles on Sunday.
Yeah. It's our only Sunday game that we're previewing. But JP, what are your thoughts going into the game?
I disagree with your analysis. I think the Colts are a really good team. I think that's just point blank what they are. It's not their fault that they've played the teams that they've played, but it is their fault that they have sent those teams home really sad because they got their butt kicked in by Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones. Remember, this is a team that had not punted through 2.5 weeks of the season. They continue to score and score and score. In the games they've played against on par competition, they are 1-1. And a lot of people like to say oh well, if the leverage penalty didn't happen, the Broncos would have won. Well, it happened and they didn't win. And good teams find ways to win even in ways like that. Kansas City was in that same argument last year, and they were all the way in the Super Bowl. So, not that the Colts are going to be the Super Bowl, but the Colts are good. The Colts are damn good, and their ability to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor and then use the weapons that they have, they've been really, really good. Tyler Warren has been incredible. They've been using him all over the field. He'll line up in the backfield. He'll line up as a wide receiver. He'll line up in the slot. He has 40 receiving yards or more from the backfield, from the slot, and from lined up as a normal wide receiver out wide. So they've been using him productively in those spots as well.
They've been using him correctly.
Correct. They got the Swiss Army knife, and they've been using him as such. And then their receivers have been great as well. Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Alec Pierce. The one down spot has been Adonai Mitchell. He's the 4th wide receiver on the team.
Yeah, which going back real quick to interrupt us, talking about okay, maybe the Broncos win. Yeah, they got a little lucky. But then, like, you have the flukiness of the Adonai Mitchell stuff in the game before,
Mhm.
or not the game before, but against the Rams that really makes you lose that game. So
Yes.
it's like, okay, well, then you just flip those. Doesn't really matter.
And he has
Continue.
the holding penalty where they
Yeah,
score
exactly.
a touchdown. Like those things can be flipped either way in those games. So I just don't think the Colts are a bad team or held up by an invalid schedule. I think that argument could be made against like the Steelers, because the Steelers have beaten a backup quarterback in Carson Wentz, arguably the worst starting quarterback in the NFL in Dylan Gabriel, Justin Fields and the Jets, and they only beat him by 2 points in a shootout. Like, I think that argument could be made about the Steelers. And then the one game they played against a really good team, they got blasted by Seattle at home. That's where I think that argument is workable. I don't think it's there for the Colts. They've been scoring points against everyone. They scored a bunch against Denver. So even like the Chargers defense, I don't think they'll fear whatsoever. So I think the Colts are going to be in this game. Because of that, like where the spread is at 1.5. I think this would be a Colts team favored, given how last week went, and how these past 3 weeks have gone.
Sure.
For Indianapolis and Los Angeles. This just feels like you need a Herbert superhero moment, and he's had a
Agreed.
few of those
I'd
already
say
this
he
year.
had one against Miami.
He had one against Miami, and then he had one earlier against the Denver Broncos,
Yeah.
right?
I feel like he also had a couple against the Chiefs, or at least he
Yeah,
had a really
definitely
good day.
had a really good day against the Chiefs, and I think you need that from
For sure, I agree.
Justin Herbert in this game with the running back issues there. So I for me, I think this is a pick 'em. I think this is going to be a really good game. I like this game a lot, and I think it'll tell a really big story.
Sure.
Especially for Indianapolis. If they're able to win this game, then everyone just flips on their head and like, oh, the Colts are really good, by the way. You're too late to the party. It's too late for that.
The bus is full.
I feel the same way about Seattle when people are going to say Seattle's great in about a month. Sorry, bro. I had that at the beginning of the season.
And if the Colts lose this and it turns out they were just a benefactor of a bad schedule, what do we do? What do you do then?
It depends on how the game goes.
Yeah.
I think 5-2 still, though, is really good.
Yeah.
I want to say, like, I was wrong in how I felt about them coming into the season. I think
Same.
we all were. The Colts just find ways to win games, and they always have. Like, they've been above 500 so many years running. And I know, like, Larry tried to tell us that when we were doing the preview there as well. Or I think that might have been in the draft coverage.
Sure.
So they've surprised me. But now that I've seen them, I think they are one of those better teams in the league. Question, will they have a home field advantage in Los Angeles? Are you sure?
I don't think they will.
I don't know.
It could be completely possible.
I mean, they got a lot better chance than they did against whoever, teams in the West. Like, that's a long way for Indianapolis fans to travel.
Sure.
It's a lot
definitely.
better than, like, San Francisco or Las Vegas or something.
Well, the Chargers are favored by 1.5. I'm going to go and start it off, and I think the Colts win this game. I think Jonathan Taylor has a big day, and I think Justin Herbert does his best. But it's, 31-27 win or something like that for the Colts.
Yeah. I will be picking a Chargers cover. Chargers win. I'll take a good game from the guy hanging on the wall right now behind Jack. So I will be going with the Chargers to cover.
I'm taking the Colts.
Sure.
This is our team
We bleed blue.
for the shoe. Give me the Colts to win and cover, of course, the 1.5 points. I think Daniel Jones gets their kind of marquee win at this point in the season, and then they kind of look forward, and it's kind of then you question when are they going to lose because they don't play really anyone until Week 12. They'll play at Kansas City. And, yes, that is how low I think of the Atlanta Falcons, who they'll play Week 10, I believe, in Germany. Give me the Colts.
All right.
6-1 Colts.
Crazy.
to beat the Chargers, who are all of a sudden 4-3 and terrible once again.
And Kansas City's right there.
So maybe you should have actually stuck with Denver as your pick.
Well, it's not like Denver's looking too hot either.
All right, I'm gonna change out my phone camera real quick because it's apparently
Yeah, I got it.
5%. Oh, Preach, you got it. JP, did you see we got a basketball commit? Top 100 player, 4-star forward.
What's his name?
Jalen Collingwood.
Sick.
J.
What about King Grace?
Let me cover it up instead of just having your hand. You're good now. You're good.
No, this is a raw show.
Very vulnerable with the audience. We're covered up right now just so Jack can change the camera. What was I going to say? Another thing. Oh, they announced the full set. I think it's full white for the Florida game. From what I saw, I've been scrolling Twitter
Dope.
absent-mindedly as we've been talking. So that'll be fun. It was a great uniform matchup for the Tennessee game. That was what we wore, was the all whites with the interlocking.
Indeed.
What other news has there been? I feel like there was other news I wanted to talk about earlier. We got the basketball commit. Oh, my brother just texted me to let me know, hey, your phone is about to die. Appreciate that. I don't know why he did it in a group chat instead of just texting me. I guess it's Jack's in there too, so he wanted Jack to be able to know. I feel like there was something other news, and I don't remember what it was. All right, Jack, just stay there. We'll put this on. Yeah, that looks good. This is our Colts. This is our team. Man, we might be able to get out here in time for Thursday Night Football. 7:15. 45 minutes. Oh, we still have
Easy.
JP's best bets.
Easy.
JP's best bets.
His best bets don't take that long.
They don't. They do not. Then we got to walk through my entire mock draft that I just did.
You can do that by yourself.
That would be kind of fun. I may have to start. JP does his film breakdowns. I may have to start doing mock draft breakdowns and previews. All right.
Shall we move on?
Houston at Seattle.
The Houston Texans are coming off their bye, where they had some momentum previously, picking up a couple wins, and they have to make the trip to the Northwest to face Seattle on Monday Night Football, 9 p.m. Central Time kickoff, and Seattle is favored by 3.5. Thoughts on this game, guys?
So Seattle's got to trump the unfortunate trend that's going right now, and that is Mike McDonald at home. It has not been good whatsoever. He's 10-1 on the road, so they've been elite on the road, but they have been really, really bad at home. As I pull up their home record, Texans are coming off a bye, and I mentioned it last week. He's 4-12 at home.
That is
the
nuts.
Seattle head coach.
That is actually just ridiculous.
Given their home field advantage as well. Shout out Gemini for that stat. But the Texans coming off that bye, they really got hot, finally got their offense rolling in the fourth quarter against Tennessee, and then against the Baltimore defense, which you can make of it what you'd like to. But they were able to score a ton of points. And their defense has been absolutely elite all year. In fact, I don't have it up there. They're giving up 12.3 points per game this year, and if that were to continue, and that was how the season ended, that would be the third best scoring defense of all time.
Wow.
So the Texans are playing elite defense this year, giving up only 12.3 points per game. That kind of should help them in this game. Of course, defense is going to travel on the road. The biggest question in this game, though, is going to be, are they going again offensively? Are they able to run the ball? Are they able to protect C.J. Stroud? That's been a big problem this year after trading Laramie Tunsil away. Offensive line has been a huge trouble. They got eaten alive last time they played on Monday Night Football against the Buccaneers. And Seattle, if there's one thing they do well so far this season, has been getting after the passer. Demarcus Lawrence has been great to go along with a lot of guys. It's kind of a committee defensive line, and you have the old heads and Leonard Williams and Demarcus Lawrence. I want to see Sam Darnold play well on primetime. In a kind of key game, they got over the emotional letdown loss to the Buccaneers, trumped the 9 a.m. body kick or the 10 a.m. body kick, winning against a Jacksonville team that just beat Kansas City. If Seattle is as good as I say they are, then they need to win this game. They have to show that they can win this game. They have to win this game.
Sure.
If they can't get that done, they're 4-3, and they immediately kind of just turn into, okay, they're a team that is limited, and in large part, it's so far their limitations have been because of Sam Darnold. He's lost them their 2 games, point blank, fumbling the ball in Week 1 against San Francisco, albeit because his right tackle got pushed into his right hand, but you still got to protect the football. And then against the Buccaneers 2 weeks ago, he throws a pick off of his lineman's head, which albeit is because his lineman literally got pushed into his right in front of his hand. But you still got to protect the football. All that goes back on the quarterback. He's taken accountability for that. He's been amazing through the air. And so him against the Texans defense is going to be really interesting. Is like Will Anderson going to eat him alive with Danielle Hunter as well? Or is Sam Darnold going to continue to find what he wants? Which he's done a great job. Seattle is apparently targeting Devon Achane
I saw that today.
per report, which is crazy to me. I think they should continue to play with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Maybe target somebody, another receiver maybe.
Sure.
Although Torrey Horton has played really well, and they don't. I just love the way they run offense with their 2 tight ends in A.J. Barner and Elijah Arroyo. They play offense how a team is supposed to with that kind of talent. Run the ball well, set up the play action, and hit your elite threat in JSN. Use your big physical tight ends. I think this game comes down to defense, though. Texans defense, Seattle defense. Now, stay with me here. Whoever holds the other team to less points is going to win this game.
I think that's a good take there to wrap it up. Yeah, I'm looking to see Seattle please use Kenneth Walker more. He has been the better back than Charbonnet. I try to trust coaching staffs on this one or in these scenarios, but it just Charbonnet is graded out as one of the worst rushers, and Kenneth Walker, whether you're a PFF guy or not, graded out as the highest graded running back per PFF. I'm not saying he's the best running back in the league or anything like that, but I just think he's clearly better than Charbonnet at this point. So what are we doing? And then for the Texans, this is a game I think the defense has to win because I don't expect the Texans to go into Seattle and light up Seattle offensively. So, any thoughts, Sanders?
No, I think y'all hit
Cool.
pretty well. Pick it.
Seattle's favored by 3.5. I'm going to take the Texans to cover. I think this is kind of a field goal either way type of game. Maybe it's a tie game and Seattle drives down late and hits a field goal, or maybe the Texans pull off a pretty big win on the road on Monday night. But I'm going to take the Houston's to cover just because I think it's going to be such a defensive battle. I don't really think either team's going to pull away. So,
The Seahawks are the best football team in the league.
wow.
No, they're not.
About to say you've got you did your power ranking on Tuesday 2 days ago.
I really want them to be, though. And if they're going to be in an argument for being atop the pyramid next week, they have to win this game because the teams that are right there with them, Bucks are playing at Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
They could lose. And Philly is only a 1.5-point favorite against Minnesota, and they're kind of falling apart. So in order for Seattle to be atop the pyramid on Tuesday night, they're going to have to win this game and cover. I think they win, and I think they win by 10+. I think
Wow.
they score fine on that Texans defense. I think they get up to 28 points, and I think they get after C.J. Stroud, and he has a tough night.
I'll take Seattle to cover as well.
28-10. That's my exact score call.
All right. We'll see if you're right.
I'll also say I think it's interesting that with Tampa Bay playing at Detroit, I would have thought that even with a loss, they could still stay at the number 1 spot just because of how good Baker Mayfield has looked. The fact they just beat the
It's-
Seahawks.
Depends on how it goes.
Yeah, I mean it will come down to results and how
Optics
teams look.
matter.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
All
you,
right.
you do make a good point. I mean, the Buccaneers have gained themselves a lot of goodwill.
Yeah,
So
I feel like that they right now on Thursday have a large lead for that first spot, and I don't know that a single loss against a good Detroit team on the road with all the injuries Tampa Bay is dealing with Like,
Detroit kind of beat up too.
yeah, that's true. They are missing some guys in secondary. We can talk about that game.
We can, because the last one we're doing. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Detroit for the other Monday Night Football game, where Detroit is 5.5-point favorites. Both teams are pretty injured. Detroit's secondary is very beat up to combat a very beat up wide receiver room for the Buccaneers, among other positions. So it's going to be an interesting game. Buccaneers are just looking to keep on rolling, and Detroit's looking to bounce back from a loss to Kansas City last week. Key points for this game, guys.
If Tampa Bay has the ball last, they win.
There's Sanders' key point. It honestly kind of feels like a game, at least offensively. I need both teams to continue doing what you're doing, and that's Tampa Bay continuing to find ways to score and move the ball despite injuries, and just let Baker do his thing. And 'cause that's really how they're moving the ball, is they're just Baker Mayfield is willing it to happen. And then Detroit, just you move the ball pretty well against Kansas City. You just got to finish drives better. So just do that. Get your playmakers the ball, execute a little better. I'm interested to see how well Jahmyr Gibbs runs in this game, considering we've talked a lot about how the Buccaneers are one of the best run defenses in the league. So how well do him and David Montgomery really get going? But offensively, at least for both these, just, keep doing what you're doing and just execute your game plans, because they're working right now.
Yeah, and then it'll be the Tampa Bay wide receivers versus that Detroit secondary. Terrion Arnold dealing with injury, didn't play last week. Avonte Maddox dealing with injury. The other one, DJ Reed.
Kirby Joseph is...
Kirby Joseph, thank you, also dealing with injury. DJ Reed is on IR currently. So and then on the other side of the ball, the top three wide receivers, Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, and Chris Godwin. Evans and Egbuka won't play. Is there a chance Godwin comes back? Because I don't think he played 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and then I don't know what the injury was that sidelined him last weekend.
I think they're going to try to make him play.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I don't think he would be. He hasn't been effective really yet.
Yeah.
At this point.
Mike Evans is trying to play. He walked out to practice today in pads, and they told him to take off the pads.
Yeah.
That's funny. So that'll be an interesting matchup. Is a bunch of backups in the secondary for Detroit, and then wide receivers for Tampa Bay. And then also along that defensive line, what is Aiden Hutchinson able to do? Because the offensive line has also been an issue for Tampa Bay as far as injuries go. I think they have back their left tackle. Is that right, JP?
Yeah, worst played last week.
Worst played, but they're missing a guard and a center and the right tackle. Like, they're just missing so many pieces
They're
everywhere.
missing 3 right guards.
So
That's
starting.
impressive.
They're starting right guard 4,
Correct.
or maybe left guard 2. Maybe he moved over.
No, they did not move him over.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they signed someone and they played him.
Yeah.
Or called someone from the practice squad, which is
Gotcha.
technically signing.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm right.
So that
Doesn't matter what
Detroit-
Aiden Hutchinson does. Baker Mayfield just going to give him a little stiff arm into the ground and then
Sure.
run for 12 yards.
Yeah,
so.
and then come up with his little celly. Maybe
yeah.
the shoulder, like both the shoulders shrugged or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
You make a good point, Sanders. Interesting matchup with Bucks' lack of receivers and Detroit's lack of secondary. Like, both kind of literally their lack of that. I don't think it matters for Tampa Bay. I mean, I've said that a ton this year. They could have the Banana Slugs playing receiver for them, and Baker's going to make it work and make it happen. I think they're going to run the ball with Rashad White and Sean Tucker in this game. I think they'll be consistently going down there and scoring points. And I think the same goes for Detroit. Detroit, I think, is going to answer after their kind of disappointment on Sunday. I expect this to be fully a shootout. Bucks, like I said, doesn't matter who they have. I said on Tuesday I think they would be really competitive in this game, which is why I don't understand why the spread is 5.5.
I agree.
Obviously, in my power rankings, like, Bucks are 2 tiers higher than the Lions. I would probably have this game at a pick'em. Like, I think this is a 50-50 coin flip that this goes either way. My biggest thing was what my biggest issue was after Sunday night with Detroit. Are they going to have the undisciplined stuff again? Or are they going to respond to that? And did Dan Campbell talk them out of that well enough. I would assume he gave a pretty fiery speech
Yeah, probably.
about all the stupid stuff they did last week. Because the Aiden Hutchinson penalty cannot be defended, and of course what Brian Branch did cannot be defended. That stuff cannot happen. I don't think it will happen this week. At least I hope not. I hope like Detroit responds to that because I really like Detroit and I want them to be good. And having them being good and in the postseason has been great for the league. It's been great for the sport. But due to my power rankings, having Tampa Bay over Detroit, I'm taking Tampa Bay to win, and of course cover the 5.5 points. I think Baker gets to 6-1. I was low on the Lions coming into the season, and it turns out that I think the committee's still out, but I may be right if they lose, and they're 4-3.
If they lose this 4-3, sure, I'll give you
But I'm
half right.
yes,
Currently
I was going to say I'm
because
right for the wrong reason.
You're right for the wrong reason, for sure. Also, you had them taking a massive step back, and so you may be right about them taking a step back.
6-11 still in play.
It is still in play. You are correct. I'm also going to take the Bucks to cover. I'm not going to predict the win, but I think it's. I mentioned it while show prepping. I was talking to Sanders, and that spread immediately jumped out to me as
100%.
wow, why are they favored by 5.5? So, and that's my initial reaction. I'm going to take
Especially
the Bucks to cover.
after Detroit being 2.5 underdogs to KC.
Yeah.
Now what would the Buccaneers spread at Kansas City be? 8? 9?
Yeah.
I'm
yeah, I
really
don't-
interested what Vegas's power dynamics or power rankings are, because of that.
Are they?
Not that I'm correct because I'm 5-13 and picking the spread so far this year, but I'd be interested what the pyramid is.
Sure.
Would be against picking the spread after each week.
I need to fix that because Jack is 5-13 and you're 5-16. And
It gives me a loss when I put the pick in until something is in there.
But Jack has also put.
No, but it's only JP's column or something like that.
Okay,
My
cool.
column doesn't do that.
I'll go and fix it in a bit. I'm also. Wait, I put both y'all.
Yeah, hold up.
I was about to say,
Wow.
I wrote it down wrong. Y'all
He's
both picked
trying
Tampa
to.
Bay.
No wonder our records are so bad. He's cheating.
I will also pick Tampa Bay to cover. I do think that they're going to be really competitive, and I wonder, is Vegas knocking them down a couple pegs because of the injuries to the wide receiver core? That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
Emeka Ibuka is probably worth 1.5.
Yeah,
I do think that they are factoring that in, and it just somehow keeps not mattering. But
yeah.
they're not going to just change their process and their model because it keeps not happening. I don't
Yeah.
know though. I'm not going to pretend to know the inner workings of Vegas even a little bit.
Yep. All right, we all got Tampa Bay.
Yeah, let's get on to the best bets, and I'm going to try a bit of a different tactic today in order to ignite some success here.
Oh boy.
JP, today it's going to be a piss poor week for you. I'm expecting 0-3. I'm expecting a couple disastrous best bets. I would honestly garner to call them worst bets of the weekend.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to be disaster. It's going to be shitty. I'm just going to tell you that up front. With that being said, get into it.
Yeah, the trends would lean towards that as well. We are 8-16-1 on the year, and it's not early. It's getting late, very early. But we've got 3 bets this week, one of which you've already heard me discuss on the show, and then 2 that I have not. My first one, I'm going to go down to the Deep South, and I'm going to take GATA, -6.5 against Georgia State. GATA trumped one of my best bets last week. I picked against them, and I regret doing so, albeit I got it right privately, but did not get it right publicly. They only lost by 3. The spread was 3.5 for the best bets, but I had bet 2.5 earlier in the week. So I made money again privately, but not publicly. I'm never going to make that mistake ever again. I apologize to Freedom. I apologize to Clay Helton. I apologize to J.C. French. That is my bad. I'm going to take GATA to win by 6.5 against Georgia State. Georgia State is bad. They're a bad football team. Now, they were competitive 2 weeks ago against James Madison, only losing by 7 points. But they also only scored 7 points, and James Madison scored 14. So I don't think it's going to be that way. I think Gata is going to score a ton of points in this game like they did last week against USM. And because of that, I think they win by a touchdown. And I'll take them to cover 6.5 points. My other best bet is one that I discussed earlier. I'm going to take my first over-under of the year in terms of best bets. I'm taking under 48.5
Okay.
for LSU Vanderbilt. I think this profiles is like a game that at most is like scoring 40 points. Honestly, I think that most that we're looking at like maybe a 21-20 game. This feels like a game where both teams are in the teens. Given how good LSU's defense has been and how piss poor their offense has been at scoring points, those two trends alone, I think, lean towards an under. And then on top of that, like Vanderbilt has been playing pretty solid defensively. And offensively, their big problem is they've been turning the ball over and losing points when they need to get points. And I think all those things lean towards the 48.5 going under. I like it. I think that's too high. 48.5 means you need a team to score 24-plus points. Well, LSU hasn't done that. But once this year against Southeastern Louisiana, as I said earlier, where they scored 56. And their defense, of course, has not allowed that. But also that would say that they score 17 points and Vanderbilt needs to score 32, meaning they blew out LSU. I don't see that happening either. So I think there's just too many possibilities for that to be under 48.5. But I can't wait for a kick return touchdown to trump that because we're going to have a bad week. So under 48.5, don't bet it. Take the over. But under 48.5 is the best bet. My last one comes from a team that is being displayed right now live on camera. Kind of barely,
Barely.
in the top corner. We might have to work on our framing a little bit there.
I don't even know if they are seeable. Yeah, you can
That's
see them.
visible. That's visible. Now they're being displayed proudly live in front of our live audience. Give me Washington minus 2.5. And this is one of those. It is a coaching dynamic pick. And it's a coaching dynamic pick that very, very easily you could just pick the other way. But Dan Quinn and Brian Schottenheimer have been on the same coaching staff before. They were on, I believe it was the 2014 New York Jets football team, where Dan Quinn was on the defense and Brian Schottenheimer was the offensive coordinator. So, Dan Quinn has seen Brian Schottenheimer's offense a lot. He knows how it works. He knows its weaknesses. He knows what Brian is trying to get to. And Dan Quinn was also the defensive coordinator for Dallas. And they're playing Dallas, and Dallas still has Dak Prescott. So he knows Dak, and he knows Dak's weaknesses, and he knows what a Cowboys offense likes to look like. And I think those things lean towards Dan Quinn. Now, I say that in the fact that, like what I said earlier, this could just be flipped right on its head. Oh, well, Brian Schottenheimer has coached and practiced against Dan Quinn's defense. Brian Schottenheimer has run different kinds of offenses a ton. In Seattle, it was really, really on the run, like using the ground game. And then, of course, with Dallas, it's been through the air. Dak Prescott has also practiced against Dan Quinn's defense more than anyone else, more than Jaden Daniels. So maybe you could flip it that way. And it probably will go that way because this is going to be a bad week. But I'll take the Commanders to bounce back instead of the Cowboys bouncing back. And they win by 3 or more points in Dallas and Jerry World this weekend. Give me the Commanders. I'm sorry, Jack, but they are now losing another game now that I've picked them to win.
Yeah, you basically cursed us out of the playoffs for sure. Horrible picks, JP. I'm appalled at what you've put together.
8-19, here we come.
Yeah, it's about to be a disaster. But that's the end of the best bet segment. So we can get out of here now.
The negativity is insane.
2 hours, 50 minutes. We snuck in sub 3. But thanks to all who joined
I'm really
us.
impressed, given that we doubled the number of college football games we previewed.
Correct.
We were a little intentional about going faster.
Yeah, they're probably
Um,
all around sub 10, or except for the state game, they were sub 10.
Yeah, A&M one. They'll vary. But anyway, thanks to all who joined live, and thanks to all who are watching post. The support means a lot, and we'll be back on Sunday to recap the weekend of college football, and we will have a lot of games to recap.
Yeah.
So join us then, and see y'all. Peace.
See ya.